morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, amazing Law Nerd. It is, I was going to say Tuesday. It's definitely not. It's Thursday, January 8th, 2026. We have lots to cover today, from things that were going on in court in Los Angeles while we were in court in Utah. Why? Well, I got so many questions about it, and I was like, we're not going to wait until the podcast this week. We'll just cover it today. Why not? We've got time. Because we were uninvited from court in Utah. I mean, not us personally. Did I take it personally? Yeah, I totally did. Is it personal? No, it's totally not. But the judge in Utah sealed all of the proceedings for today on the motions in limine. I have never seen motions in limine, the entirety of motions in limine sealed. I have seen them handle parts in chamber. I have seen them seal the moving papers and then say, we're going to, as we said in the moving papers that are not public, and kind of reference it more vaguely instead of getting into all of the nuts and bolts. I have never seen a judge seal just the entire day of motions in limine, because not everything in there is going to be unknown to the public. They've got all the motions in limine about the Corey Richins walk the dog letter. We've all seen the walk the dog letter. It was filed on the public docket. We've seen it. We know it exists. I'm still salty about it. Emily, have you unsaltied? No, I have not. Does it have anything to do with us? No. But it has to do with the public in general, and keeping things behind closed doors can make, it can make us all a little sussy. And I don't think this judge is being sussy. I think he's being overly cautious. But we've been through some shit in the last couple of years with courts, and we don't, or at least I don't, feel like I just am fully confident that when things are going on behind closed doors, we're going to ever find out what that was. I think with Judge M, this will all be unsealed later. I think this will all be unsealed later. I think that the judge is being overly cautious in dealing with the media. I think there is probably, and this is pure speculation, I think there is probably a headline or an article or a something that maybe rubbed him the wrong way or was inaccurate or was just not true. And so he just got more cautious and started shutting it down. Or maybe it's just the judges in his area kind of have that general feeling. Anyway, I don't know. I will say on the flip side, he did allow streaming on delay yesterday, which bodes well for trial. And if there are things discussed that might not come into evidence, we will find out later. But they had a very thorough and public bond hearing with quite a bit of evidence. Some of that evidence, I will remind you, is not going to come in at this trial because the judge later severed those counts out of this trial. They're going to be in a subsequent trial. If there is a subsequent trial, do I think that that financial case could resolve on its own if she's convicted on the homicide case? Sure, that's possible. So that all came in when those counts were still a part of this case. Those counts are no longer a part of this case. So that stuff that came in that's not going to be evidence in this trial, but it's in public, fine. It's not a big deal. And then with other things, the way to clear up misconceptions is to let people see what's happening in court. If you are worried about a misperception, let people see what the evidence is that they're arguing over, and then they can say, oh no, that's not an evidence. Y'all remember when Jason Momoa testified at the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial? Right. Imagine reading that in the LA Times and not being able to watch the trial to go, that actually is a TikTok meme. Imagine relying on the media to say, hey, this happened in court today. And if you can't watch it yourself, you go, okay, that happened in court today. Because who would think that they would fuck something up that spectacularly? And if you only see the headline of it, you're never going to go back and search for it, because why would you go back and be like, that can't be true? But the LA Times reported it as if it was true. So if you only saw that headline, When are you ever going back to be like, I wonder if that thing happened? And if you don't see what's going on in the courtroom, how do you know? So I am a big transparency in court over everything. I think it is fine to seal some things. I also think that hearings can be navigated. Maybe it's more frustrating, but hearings can be navigated to put things in the filings that aren't on the record and reference them without specificity. Because the judge can say, okay, you're saying that these items in docket number 214 are admissible. What are your grounds for admissibility? And they can talk about grounds for admissibility without going line by line. And if they need to go line by line, they can do all of the public hearing, say asterisks and save the stuff that's non-public and do it at the end. So, yeah, I'm frustrated that we're not in court today. So instead, we're going to go to court in Los Angeles from yesterday that was happening while we were in court in Utah. So today we're going to LA. That's what we're going to do today. I got a ton of questions in DMs, in email, in everywhere asking about what was going on with Nick Reiner's arraignment yesterday. So I figured the easiest way to do that is just to do it on stream today instead of waiting for the podcast, and just answer questions as we are going and talk about what is known, what is not known, and what's going to happen. So there, it's a lot of you saw the headlines yesterday. I know the mods were trying to keep the breaking news to a minimum yesterday, but I know a lot of you have seen the headlines. We are just going to go through what happened in court. We're going to watch the court hearing in LA. We're going to watch the press conferences after the hearing. We're going to answer questions and we're going to go from there. Does that sound like a plan, Law Nerds? We're going to talk about the Reiner case. For all of you who are just like, thank you for the compliments on the green. We've gone full green machine. Travis is going to be back with the green machine this summer. Emily, are you already thinking about DCI this summer? Yes. Are you going to talk about that more? No, because I will start to cry. It is going to be the next 6 months are going to just be Emily, can we talk about that? No, I might cry. Why? Because I'm pretty sure my kid is moving out for DCI this summer, the day after high school graduation. Emily, when will he move into college? I don't know. Probably 3 days after finals for DCI. So every time T interrupts and comes in on stream and is like, I'm sorry to interrupt, I'm like, nope, come on in, because when we're streaming this time next year, you're not going to be able to pop in. So, yep, nope. And now we're going to roll the intro. To the stars who listen, what's up with Ron lately? Let's roll the intro. As I fan my face. We're going to roll the intro, and we're going to, we'll give a quick catch up on that. And then we're going to go to court in LA. Sound good? All right. Sounds good. I know Travis is going to have to pop into the chat. I know. All right. Let's go to court today, shall we? Hey there, I'm lawyer and legal analyst Emily D. Baker, and this is your go-to destination for live court coverage. I break down the law, the strategy, and the evidence in real time, so you know what's happening. No law degree required. So join the law nerds in the chat. They're here for the facts, not and let's get to court. Yeah, before I start singing, I'm not okay. I'm just going to be like, okay, before we start singing, I'm not okay. All of you are saying that there was an echo. Really? That's so strange. Huh. I have no idea why we would... I have no idea why we'd have an echo while playing. I'm not quite sure how to help you with that. Cancel the device in my office. I'm going to have to change the device in my office to something else. See, yesterday we did such a good job fixing all of the things. And then apparently today, We have just absolutely gotten to the point where it is a whole situation. I don't know why. So that's very strange because it would be, well, let me look at two sound settings. Streaming continues to be dynamic this week. Like, has anyone felt like the beginning of the year has gone smooth for them? Because if you did, can you just let me know? Can you just let me know? Because it's definitely not what's happening here. It is, I wonder where that is coming from on the, because it's coming through my Rodecaster, but it should not be echoing for y'all when we play from the Rodecaster, which is what is so confusing. All of you are like, during the intro. No, I'm aware during the intro. I just want to make sure when we start in court that we do not have the same issue that it seems to be duplicating, which is probably on the end of our system. So give me 1 second and let me see if I can figure out why that is feeding in back to you guys, because it shouldn't be. All right, well, I guess we will see when we get a little further along in court. Hopefully it's not echoing in court, and hopefully these don't either. I just don't know I don't know what would cause that. So, how interesting. We fix one problem and we find another one. It's just fantastic. We'll fix it in post. That's what we're here for. What was I going to say? Oh, Ron. The echo was only the intro. That's so weird. All right, well, we'll figure it out. Hopefully it's not court 2, and then, we'll figure out what the outro does. But so strange. All right, with that, law nerds, we are going to, you know what? Let me try one more thing. I wonder if the thing that I fixed yesterday to make sure that we had mono is the thing that broke it. But I set those back to the way they should be. All right, we'll figure it out later. Hopefully it does not happen during court, and then we'll have to figure it out now. So Ron updates. The court still hasn't made a ruling. That's the update. The update is we're waiting for the court. We're waiting for the court. And once we get a ruling from the court, we'll cover it. But we're waiting for the court. The court has not made any ruling. So the court hasn't made a ruling. So there we are. But also the everything needing to be like modified has been so much. So we're waiting for an update. We're waiting for the court to rule on that order to show cause. There's a couple cases that we're just in a holding pattern on. It's civil. The judge is just taking their time. We have a new hearing date in the Karen Reed civil case in early February. So we're going to go through a bunch of early February stuff. I see Blue Sky, any TikTok psychic updates? No, there's been no filings since the last filing I covered. Nope, we're just going to have to wait. So there's a lot of cases that are just in a holding pattern, but not, in most cases, not a ton happens between like mid-November to mid-January. So things will start to get busier in February. I will put up a docket. In the Lawnard Lounge when we kind of have an idea of what court we're covering in February. Because Murdaugh's going to be back in court in February. And we're going to go over some of those motions prior to Murdaugh being in court. There are some appeals that are due in cases that we've filed in trial. We'll go over some of those appeals. So I am trying to make sure we get through all of the stuff. And then there will be there may or may not be a Karen Reed civil hearing at the beginning of February as well. So we've got a lot going on. All right. But today we are going to go to court. And we're going to fly to Los Angeles. We're going to go to Department 30. It's one of the master calendar arraignment courts in the downtown Los Angeles courthouse, somewhere that I have worked, somewhere that Alan Jackson has worked, somewhere that many have worked, because, we all worked at the same DA's office. That said, our DA's office at the time, and I know it's not quite, I know it is really understaffed at the moment, but we were upwards of 1,000 attorneys in the Los Angeles County DA's office. So it was not a small office. It was a very large office. And I actually think that today, when we fly to court, it actually might be better for us to just fly to Burbank. I think flying into Burbank is going to be easier than flying into LAX, right? So it will be easier for us, I think, to get from Burbank to downtown LA than to get from LAX to downtown LA. Though, if you ever have the opportunity to fly into Long Beach, that's the thing. That's the thing. Not the Jess, we did. Not the Jess said, Emily, Josh Ritter from Courtroom Confidential was saying you two worked there at the same time. We did work at the office at the same time. We did not know each other. I'm sure we crossed paths, but we were at the DA's office at the same time. I don't think we were in the same courthouse at the same time. So we were at the office at the same time. Again, large office. So let's get to court and see how it goes. I'm worried that this is going to have a little bit of reverb too, but hopefully not. And then if it does, we're going to have to figure out why the audio is outputting twice, because that doesn't even make any sense in my brain. Let me look at one more thing in the audio setup to make sure, because yesterday we moved quite a lot of things around to make sure we didn't have mono audio in court. And I worry that we just broke everything. We just broke everything else in doing that, but that's okay. Look, it's the beginning of the year. Do I expect things to go smoothly? No, that would be silly of me. It would be very silly of me to expect anything to go smoothly. It's fine. So let me make sure that there isn't some strange setting that got changed. All of this should be, all of this looks good. It doesn't look like anything changed. So fingers crossed. Optimistically, and we'll go from there. All right, let's roll to, Burbank, so we can go to court in LA. All right, how was that? Let me know. We're going to go to court. Remember, we are on court replay for those of you who watched court. I have not watched court. I've not watched this hearing. I grabbed it and I have not watched this hearing. So though I've seen headlines, I haven't watched it. We're going to watch it together. It's a fairly short hearing. We might go over it twice. We're going to answer all your questions. And I normally wait till the end to do questions. We're going to answer questions in the middle here. Just for orientation, where are we? We're going to court in Los Angeles to look at the arraignment for Nick Reiner. He has been charged with the murder of his parents. I did a podcast on that right before we took a break for the holidays. It's on the Emily Show channel, which gave us a, I hope, grounded perspective of these are the things we know so far, and this is where the case is likely going to go. This case, more than a lot of cases I've seen recently, has really pulled in all of the speculation. All of the internet is all of a sudden an expert in addiction, recovery, narcotics, family dynamics, Hollywood, politics, police procedures, you name it. I'm a lawyer. I know some things. I was a DA for a long time, but we're going to focus on what the process will be in court, not what the best headline is going to be. That's what we're here for. What's going to happen in court? And so what I suspected we would see happening before we went into the arraignment today was either the arraignment happening, which is defendant, these are the charges against you. Do you waive formal reading of the arraignment? And formal reading of the arraignment means reading it line by line, like reading the entire complaint, which their attorney has and then they see. It's very rare that defendants don't just waive formal reading of the arraignment. And then they will either set a date for preliminary hearing, for discovery, for, well, not in this case, but in other cases, for conversations about diversion, especially in LA, for a bail or bond review. Those are generally the things that will happen. So is a plea of not guilty going to be entered? And then what's the next date going to be? That is really what you expect to see at arraignment. But arraignments can get put over. That's what we're going to see today, and we'll talk about that. But there were tons of headlines in this case that he was going to enter a plea of not guilty by reason, and in Los Angeles, it's still by reason of insanity. Other jurisdictions, it's by reason of mental disease or defect, but it is a legally not guilty because of. I talked about that more in the podcast. It's too early in the procedure for that type of a plea to be entered. It's just way too early. It's way too early. So that's not going to happen. That was never going to happen. I don't know why people were saying that was going to happen, but that was never going to happen at this hearing. So we're going to watch the hearing. We're going to answer questions, and then we're going to talk about procedures. All right. Let's go to court. Let's see. Thank you, Magdalena. I saw that and I appreciate it. So, Amanda said, I prefer saying I have mental defect. The NGI is fairly outdated language. I don't know if mental disease or defect is better. I don't know what the proper or better term would be. I think mental health professionals could probably come up with a better term of, not guilty for reasons doesn't work either, but legally not guilty due to whatever is, it falls, well, we'll get into that another day. It's a hard thing to kind of come up with more modern language. But again, it is what it is. It's also fairly nuanced and complex legally. So are we ready to go to court? I'm ready to go to court. So Winnie said some states have not criminally responsible. I think that's probably a better way to phrase it because it really goes to the mens rea. And I think that's a better phrasing. Thank you, Winnie. I like that a lot better. Instead of, NGI, just not criminally responsible, makes a lot of sense. CM Lawyer says in Canada, we use not criminally responsible as well. See, I love it. Look, we can fix things. We can do it. We can do it. I like that a lot. It just, I don't know. It helps with, well, I have pickiness about language anyway, but it would help to update some of the language because it is, well, it's just needed, right? But not criminally responsible is much better. It's really much better because it is very much to the point. And the point is this person's not criminally responsible because of thing. It would work in so many contexts. I like it so much. It also makes it much clearer what the law is and what it means. And I think it would be easier for jurors to understand truly. And that's really where my pickiness gets is what's easy for jurors to understand in 2025, 2026, 2030. All right. Are we ready? I'm ready. You're ready. We're ready. We can fix the world one conversation at a time. All right. We're going to go to court in Los Angeles to the Great Seal of the state of California. Can I tell you guys a secret? Maybe one day I'll tell you how I know this. Those seals are made of foam. 100%. Those seals are made of foam. Right? I know. All right. Going to court, Department 30, Los Angeles. Let's go.
We're ready. So calling People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC.
Emily, are we going to get any better audio from this courtroom? No, we're not. I know the foam shatters the illusion, but also it's the most Los Angeles shit ever that it's basically set design. It's basically set design. I think some of the old courthouses might have some left that are wood, but they're foam. Mm-hmm. So, yep.
F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who's present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
Jackson, you're used to going to court when your defendants are out of custody. So as they pan over to where Alan Jackson is standing, you will see like the clear plastic behind him, and the clear plastic behind him is where they bring defendants in and out of the arraignment court. And then there's like a big bench back there. In some courthouses, that is actually like fencing. It is actually the custody cage, but in this court, it is plexiglass. So that is why he's looking in the direction of the defendant, and the court is looking in the direction of the defendant too.
Alan Jackson, on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who's present in court out of custody. I'm sorry, in custody.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Bailey for the people.
Your Honor, we have a matter of housekeeping.
So the DA is there. Jackson is there. Department 30 is there.
That I'd like to address in chambers in dealing with the 10 subpoenas that are outstanding. There are
10 subpoenas that are outstanding. So they were in chambers before they came into court. That would be with the judge, with the prosecutor, and with the defense. It is very unlikely that at this very early proceeding, that would have been a ex parte. 10 subpoenas, huh? That's a lot.
Your Honor, we have a matter of housekeeping that I'd like to address in chambers in dealing with the 10 subpoenas that are outstanding. There are 10 current subpoenas that are outstanding. We would ask that body attachments be issued and held for each of the 10, specifically with subpoena number 4 on the list and subpoena number 10 on the list. Counsel for both of those individuals or those parties have appeared in court. They're here with us today. Mentioned we have no principal.
Body attachments. Body attachments. Body attachments.
Subpoena number 4 on the list and subpoena number 10 on the list. Counsel for both of those individuals or those parties have appeared in court. They're here with us today. Mentioned we have no principled objection to an extension of time for them to comply with the subpoena, but to maintain jurisdiction, we would ask that body attachments be issued.
I don't have the list. I'd like to get a copy, and I understand the proof of service, but I assume the court.
Counsel for 4 and 10 present?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not sure which number I am. But I'm counsel for number 10.
So there are 10 subpoenas. Yes, the audio is just audioing. There are 10 subpoenas outstanding. And we will talk more about that, but there are a few attorneys in court responding to the subpoenas. It sounds like out of the 10, there are only a few individuals whose attorneys responded. We'll talk about what the body attachment means in a few.
We do object to issue if that would resolve the court's concerns about retaining jurisdiction. However, we see no reason, given our appearance and the fact that we are here to issue a body attachment.
And counsel for number 4?
In Counsel Number 10's statement, I don't see the necessity for issuing a body attachment. I too will stipulate the jurisdiction without necessarily waiving any objections we ultimately may make. But given my newness to the matter, I don't see the necessity of having a court order issued against an individual in this circumstance.
An arraignment.
Thank you, Your Honor. And just to be clear, we do also reserve all of our objections.
Yes, and so, but as to the remaining numbers, that's 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those, the court will issue body attachment and hold it until.
Chad, I know that you can see that the microphone is not in fact shoved into a fishbowl, but it sounds like it is. Yes, it does.
The next court date.
And thank you. We have no objection to counsel's representations, given the fact that both have graciously submitted to jurisdiction with regard to 4 and 10. We think that's appropriate.
Thank you. Once again, the court will issue and hold the read 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Thank you.
Until the next hearing date. And we'll
Does the court have a list?
It does. The court will seal that list as well.
We've asked
People have a copy or
We've asked that the court seal it specifically because it is ongoing defense investigative data or evidence that we recover and we get, our counsel on behalf of Mr. Reiner gets, and that is discoverable. We'll comply with all corporate counsel.
Well, you've been busy.
Obligations at that time.
Can you address the counsel's request to provide a copy to the people?
That's the point. We think that should not be done because that would implicate ongoing investigative efforts by the defense, and it would compromise Mr. Reiner's right to a fair trial and his right to maintain his investigation with some level of confidence. Or confidentiality, I should say.
So at this time, the court will just seal it until the next court hearing date.
Hey,
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Watchman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel's record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation we've provided to the court in chambers.
Oh, that actually might have been an ex parte hearing in chambers then. The ex parte that might have been ex parte because what Alan Jackson is saying is that he is withdrawing from the case for reasons he discussed in chambers. That would have been discussed outside the presence of the DA, and that's proper to do so. Those are attorney-client matters that they do not, that the prosecution does not need to be aware of. Also, talking about those 10 body attachments, he said these are, or the 10 subpoenas, these are ongoing defense investigative efforts. We're asking those to be sealed, and the prosecution might not need to be aware of those at this time either because it is very early on in the investigation. So, Jackson was in chambers with the court, or Jackson and attorneys from his firm were in chambers with the court because they were talking about the subpoenas and talking about the fact that he is withdrawing from the case.
We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and has to be relieved. The public defenders.
So what does that mean? He is asking to be withdrawn as counsel and relieved. That means, well, it's very early on in the proceedings, so the court's not going to say, no, you're stuck here. It's like on the eve of trial, no, you're stuck here. We saw that in Sarah Boone when Owens was like, well, Your Honor, I can't be ready for trial. The judge is like, you parachuted into this shit. Strap in. We're going to trial. Like, buckle up, Buttercup. Here we go. This is very, very early on in the case. So when Alan Jackson is saying there is nothing we can do, we must withdraw from this case, the court's going to let them withdraw from the case. So, all right, I'm going to back up and let him finish his sentence without interrupting. We'll talk about this in a minute.
Or confidentiality, I should say.
So at this time, the court will just seal it until the next court hearing date.
hey,
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Watchman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel's record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation we've provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and has to be relieved. The public defender's office has been notified. We've had conversations
Which is
with
helpful.
them. They are here. They're staffed. They're ready to take over. My understanding is they're ready for the appointment immediately, forthwith.
That's also helpful. So he gave the public defender's office the heads up. He told them that they were going to be withdrawing. He told them that they would need to be appointed on the case. And so the public defender's office is being appointed, and they had an attorney in court ready to go. So the public defender's office got the heads up and is ready to roll.
So the court will case, and so that firm is relieved as counsel of record, and the court appoints the public defender's office to represent Mr. Reiner.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Current counsel turn over any items that they receive.
We will absolutely comply with that. We've already begun with the issues with that.
Your Honor.
So what the public defender said is we would just ask that counsel turn over any items that they have received. That means discovery, investigation, et cetera, et cetera. So everything he's done, you need to turn it over to us. All right, let's continue. We're going to watch all of this. We're going to watch the press conferences, and then we will talk about what we know, what we don't know, and what is reasonable, what is not reasonable. So don't worry, we'll get to all the questions.
There's a protective order issued by the court in place regarding the handling of discovery order that's remaining in place for now.
That's the DA.
And we'll serve a copy of that on the public defender's office along with the discovery we provide.
Yes, the court will order that order.
Preclude me from giving, Mr. Bailey raises a very sage point. I'm under a protective order not to provide our discovery to anybody else. That would text providing the information only to Ms. Green in her office. Then I can be in full compliance with the protective order.
Anything,
That's fair.
people, any response to that request?
No problem. I believe the protective order spells out that it covers Mr. Jackson's firm as well as any successor counsel.
Thank you.
You can provide everything to the screen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further? Back on the record in People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Kimberly Green here, Susan.
So this is the appointed public defender. It is my supposition that the public defender we are seeing in court is the specially assigned public defender who's going to handle this case. The LA County Public Defender's Office has lots of tremendous attorneys who do this work. I mean, I would say for most defense attorneys, most private defense attorneys would not have the amount of trial experience a Los Angeles public defender handling death penalty eligible cases would have, because this is still a special circs murder case. We don't know if the prosecution will pursue the death penalty or not. That decision will be made later. What we do know is this is a special circ murder case, and I would say most defense attorneys will not have the level of trial experience that the public defenders would have. The amount of cases that they handle, the amount of cases that go to trial, and the seriousness of those cases, I think is more than probably any office in the US, if not the world. The LA County is one of the busiest court systems, and the offices are incredibly busy with the number of trials. That said, Alan Jackson was also a district attorney, so also has a tremendous amount of trial experience at that level of trial. So the public defenders are going to have a tremendous amount of experience. Let's see. There was, Shannon's asked, Emily, what do the numbers and letters that the judges read out mean? They're the case number. And the case numbers correspond to year when it was filed. So that's the year, the courthouse, and when it was filed, and the filing goes in sequential order, though LA has redone some of their case numbering systems since I left. So it is not quite as clean as that, but year, courthouse, and then what order it was filed in. So at the very beginning of like 2026, you'll get 26 two letters and then like 00001. So the cases will go in order, and that keeps them from duplicating and keeps it easy to find. So they do not go under last name, because people can have the same name, and then that gets real confusing. Real confusing. So this is the public defender that's being appointed.
Defender's office on behalf of the Reiner, who again is present.
Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Lee Bailey, representing the people of the state of California.
Thank you.
So let's talk about why they recalled the case. They recalled the case, and we're going to start now back at the second part of the hearing. They recalled the case because Alan Jackson is no longer the attorney on the case, and now they are calling the arraignment with the public defender to handle the matter that's on calendar today. So Alan Jackson handled his part. He is no longer on the case. Now we are going to the hearing that they were scheduled to have with the appointed public defender. And we will see what the public defender chooses to do on that, because they just received the case, and I'm sure they've already run a conflict check because Alan Jackson gave them the heads up, but they don't even have discovery yet.
On the record, the People versus Nick Reiner, case number 25 CJC F08098.
This morning, Kimberly Green, Derek Ciani, to the Special Defender's Office on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who again is present.
And yes, the sound is terrible.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Bailey, representing the people of the state of California.
Thank you.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd ask to put over the arraignment one last time to February 23rd. That day is appropriate.
That day is fine. Court.
Thank you, and I will work with Ms. Green to get her discovery prior to that date.
I'll take a waiver for your entitled, you have constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel.
So the last time that Nick Reiner was in court, and the judge is looking at Nick Reiner and speaking to him now, the last time Nick Reiner was in court, he waived his right to speedy arraignment, and the arraignment was put over until January 7th, and we're covering this on delay from yesterday. And now when he is in court, he is waiving his right to speedy arraignment again to put this over until February 23rd, 2026. Don't worry, there are press conferences after this that we're going to cover as well.
Ms. Green from the Public Defender's Office is requesting that your arraignment be continued to February the 23rd, 2026. In this department, do you waive your right to be arraigned today so that your matter may be continued to February 23rd, 2026 for arraignment?
Yeah, I should do
Is counsel doing that waiver?
I do.
It was very hard to hear what Nick Reiner responded after yeah, but yeah, it is very hard to hear after he waived his rights. OIS said, honestly, I saw this reported elsewhere and the audio is 100 times better than other channels. We did a little bit of work on it and we were trying, but the audio in court is very low, but the more you gain it up, the more distorted it gets. So we are doing our best. It's why we wanted to make sure we had closed captioning.
Yeah, I should do
Is counsel doing that waiver?
I do.
The court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment and that his counsel of record joins in that waiver. Matter set for arraignment in this department, February 23rd, 2026. Bail remains at no bail. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was the end of the arraignment. Before we get to the press conferences, there are a ton of questions in the chat, and then we will get to press conferences. Will Alan Jackson ever say why he was withdrawn from the case specifically? No. Attorney-client privilege. We're going to see his press conference, and then I will talk to you about some of the possibilities for that, because all of you have that question, and I get it. So we will go over possible reasons for that. Can the public defender's office say no to an appointment of a case? The office can't say no unless they have a conflict. If the public defender's office has a conflict, then, and a conflict could be as simple as the victim was previously represented by the public defender's office or what have you. That's not the case here. The public defender's office runs conflict checks. If the public defender's office had a conflict, then it would go to the alternate public defender's office. If the alternate public defender's office has a conflict, then it will go to a panel, and defense attorneys will be picked from the bar panel, and those are attorneys that have contracts with the County of Los Angeles to be appointed by the courts at a certain rate. But that's not the case here. So no, the public defender's office itself can't just say no. That's what they're there for. They're there to be appointed. Can an individual public defender say, I am not handling this case? That's within the politics of their office, and it can be difficult to do. I have seen most public defenders that I know see their job very specifically as making sure things are done right and standing up to make sure their clients' rights are protected and that they are well represented. So it would be difficult to imagine a scenario where unless it's just like, this is not within the cases I handle, but then it would not be something they would be assigned to. So no, the public defender's office can't just say, no, we don't like that guy. That. In fact, they are there to make sure that everyone's constitutional rights to a lawyer are protected. And that's what public defenders do. They might not like their client. They might not like the crime their client committed, but they're going to make sure that that client is well represented. You just Defense attorneys don't have nearly as much control of what's happening in cases as prosecutors do. Prosecutors get to choose the crimes that are charged. Defense attorneys get the case after all that's been done and then work from there. Nick said, I have a body attachment, but it's a prosthetic arm. I don't think that's what he's talking about. No, that's definitely not what Jackson is talking about. What is Alan Jackson talking about with the body attachments? We heard Alan Jackson saying that he had sent out 10 subpoenas and he was asking the court to issue and hold body attachments so that the court maintains jurisdiction. I, from that, understand that those subpoenas were for this court date. You can subpoena witnesses, documents, etc. for a court date. Hey, you're subpoenaed to come to court on this day, and it's to either interview a witness, serve a witness with further subpoena, ask a witness for documents, what have you. And we saw that there were several attorneys in court responding to those subpoenas. What does issuing and holding a body attachment means? It extends the subpoena. If the subpoena was for yesterday's court date, and if somebody doesn't show up on that court date, then you would have to serve them a new subpoena. Instead, they are issuing and holding body attachments saying, hey, your subpoena is essentially rolling over to the next court date. We don't have to serve you a new subpoena. This one is still active. So either your lawyer needs to respond, you need to respond, or you need to come to court and explain. But they're holding it because they're not just putting a body attachment in the system saying this person failed to appear on a subpoena. So it allows the court to maintain their jurisdiction over that subpoena until the next court date. Hopefully that makes sense. So you don't have to go out and serve a bunch of people again. And I'm sure the public defender's office is like, thank you for not making us duplicate the work of the individuals that you went out and served. Because I imagine the defense investigators were going out and serving, who would you serve first? Family members that were at the crime scene, and then anyone who saw Nick Reiner in the hours leading up to this homicide. That's who you would start serving first. So it is essentially a, hey, can we move those to the next date? Thanks. But if you don't issue and hold a body attachment, those subpoenas die that day. They no longer matter. They're just void. They are moot. Oh, well, that was yesterday. Moot. All right? Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Marta asked, does Jackson turn over all that he's learned from the defendant and notes to the public defender? Yes. Jackson would turn over everything that he has to the public defender. The attorney-client relationship just moves to the new attorney and you turn that all over. So yes, absolutely. All right. Are we ready to go to the press conferences? Yes. Okay. Are we there yet? Says, how do the people subpoenaed know about the body attachment if they don't get served again? Well, A, they've already been served and they didn't show up in court. B, a letter can go out and notify them, hey, you didn't show up in court. There is going to be a body attachment held for you. And those individuals know that they've been served because they've been served. You can't get a body attachment if somebody hasn't been served. So if you've been served, wouldn't you be watching what happens on TV? Right? Yeah, I would. Have you ever been in that situation of holding body attachments? Yes. All the time. Subpoenaing witnesses is like herding cats. It happens all the time, especially if you take all the resources it takes to go out and serve a bunch of witnesses for like a preliminary hearing. And you show up on the day of the preliminary hearing and the defense attorney walks in and is like, hey, so I know we have a prelim today, but I have a conflict and I am no longer on this case. A new attorney needs to be appointed. Or, hey, I have a doubt and my client needs to be evaluated or whatever it is. And you're like, okay, but we subpoenaed all of these individuals. Not all of them are in court. We were going to call them if we need them. Yeah, we're just going to issue and hold body attachments to the next date. So we don't have to spend the time and resources to go all over LA and serve people again. It happens all the time. It is not uncommon. It is not dramatic. It's more dramatic when you have to release the body attachment and the police go and are like, hey, we're here to give you a ride to court. I don't want to go to court. Yeah, about that. So you don't really have a choice. You need to come to court. We're going to give you a ride. Come with us. If we don't give you a ride, we're going to arrest you. So, yes, they attach to the corpus, to the body. You need to do the thing. All right, let's go to press conferences, shall we? We shall. All right. You guys have great questions. I'm going to hold the ones that are more general. I'm looking at them. I'm going to hold them as we are going. So I see your questions. We're going to do lots of questions today. There are a lot of questions about this case. I have made sure that we have ample time to answer those questions because I think there's a lot of confusion in what's happening. And yeah. So Juniper said, will the police give you a ride home after? If you're not in custody, yes. If you remain in custody, they'll give you dinner. So that. BB said, Emily, is it normal practice to mentally evaluate individuals accused of a crime? It is within the discretion of their defense attorney if that is appropriate. But yes, it is a very, very common thing where people get or need a mental health evaluation before they move forward. All right. Are we ready? Yep. We are outside of court ahead of... This is my nightmare, by the way. Trying to walk with camera people walking backwards and all of... Oh, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Rachel, this is a great question. I'm going to hold on to that because we're going to talk about that. So yes, we're going to talk about that. Wait a second. I was changing the volume. Did that photographer just leap over the microphone array? Hold on. What in the Avengers is happening? Just so we have clarity on where we are outside of CCB or CJC, the downtown LA courthouse. You can see the reflection of the building across the street. This is not a very large space, and it is right on a very major street. So this is literally bumping up to the road. I anticipate the sound is going to be absolute shit because we are going to hear so much road noise. Ah, yes. Off the bench. All right.
Excuse us. Yeah, right here. Right.
Hello, Mr. Wolk. Good to see you. I hate everything. This stresses me out. We have some familiar faces. It also helps that he's so tall, but some familiar faces from the Karen Reed case in addition to Alan Jackson. I don't see Miss Little, though. Miss Little's busy.
As you know, my name is Alan Jackson. This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated that, sadly, it's made it
Oh, he wrote a little bit of a statement. Interesting.
impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick. I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his...
I mean, mean, how can you be committed? You're no longer on the case. There's nothing you can do.
My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case.
I mean, there are barely any facts known at all. So yes, the facts of the case will come out.
You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed. Printed about Nick, printed about his family, printed about the circumstances, speculation.
Oh, it's a lot of speculation.
On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we've devoted literally every waking hour to protecting.
Well, who was working on the civil stuff for Karen Reed then? Was that the other attorneys? Because you were supposed to have a hearing this week on that too.
Nick and his interests. We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front.
I mean, it sounds like you didn't get your interviews yet with any of the witnesses, but I am sure they have been incredibly busy.
What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder.
That was a very interesting parsing.
Take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law.
Not pursuant to the facts, pursuant to the law. So they're going to go with NGI. That's what he's signaling. He's not saying pursuant to the facts of this case, pursuant to the facts we've seen, pursuant to the law. Pursuant to the law is NGI. However, pursuant to the law can also mean, presumption of innocence, but that's not what he's saying. I think that he is indicating that he thinks that an NGI is what they are going to do. He is very, very clear in parsing that this is going to be a not criminally responsible pursuant to the laws in California. And if you have not seen me break down not guilty by reason of insanity, which is what the laws are called in California, I broke that down in a podcast episode. We'll link it below. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to Q&A, but NGI is not guilty by reason of insanity. So that deals with any mental circumstance. However, just because Jackson thinks that's true, the law in that area is incredibly more complex, and it can be a jury determination. We watched that in the Shabusiness case. We'll talk about that more when we get to Q&A. I'm going to finish hearing what he's saying, but he very much would have had time to get any medical records. He might be relying that on to have conversations with Nick, but he is very clear, not facts, law. So it's a very dramatic delivery, but what do we expect from Alan Jackson, right? He punctuates his sentences.
And you can take this to the bank.
I mean, only if we get interest.
Pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder. Print that. Print that.
The fact that he didn't say it 3 times is surprising to me, but please print that. Okay.
We wish him the very, very best moving forward. And that's all I have today.
I'm going to turn that down as the media is screaming questions at Attorney Alan Jackson as he goes walking back to the
Ricardo Garcia.
Back to the parking lot. All right. This looks like the public defender's office. So let's hear what the public defenders have to say.
Los Angeles County Public Defender. I'm here with Kimberly Green, the Deputy Public Defender assigned to the Reiner case. I want to say that on behalf of the entire Public Defender's Office, we are incredibly sorry and understand the pain and suffering that the Reiner family is going through at this time, as well as the entire Los Angeles community. The Public Defender's Office and the entire staff, our hearts at this time go out to the entire family. We hope that the community will also understand that this is a challenging time for the entire legal process. We ask for your patience, your understanding as we navigate this process through the legal system, and that we will be available as we can be to address your questions when appropriate. Thank you.
Alan Jackson's no longer on the case. We're not going to be talking to y'all all that much. This is going to take time. Our office needs time. Calm down. Y'all are going to have to wait. Look, that is as true of a statement as you are going to get. And you are going to see, I imagine, much less talking to the press from the public defender's office. Frankly, they just don't have time. So, this case is going to happen in court. Perfect.
We learned, I believe, last night or yesterday that we were being substituted in.
That was a great question from the press pool. It was hard to hear. We learned last night that we were going to be substituted in. So at the end of the day, right? Hey, we're going to court tomorrow for arraignment. We're going to be withdrawing. Your office is going to need to be appointed.
I'm going to let Ms. Green answer that.
Briefly this morning, but we haven't had a chance to discuss any. I spoke to Mr. Reiner briefly this morning. He was.
This is how that conversation would have gone, by the way. Because she was asked, have you had a chance to talk to Mr. Reiner? I talked to him briefly this morning. That would have happened in lockup at the courthouse, because the courthouse has its own lockup. In lockup in the courthouse. Hi, I'm Kimberly Green. I'm your new public defender. I'm going to have a chance to talk to you by phone at the jail. Insert the way they are going to communicate. Today at arraignment, I still don't have the discovery we are going to need to put over the arraignment. Do you understand what that means? This is the date I'm looking at. This is when you'll be back to court. Do you have any questions for me? This is how you get in touch with my office. I will be in touch with you at X insert time. That's how that conversation would have gone. So, yes, I've had a chance to talk to him means I've had a chance to introduce myself and tell him what's happening and when we will communicate, and that's it.
I'm going to let Ms. Green answer that.
Briefly this morning, but we haven't had a chance to discuss any. I spoke to Mr. Reiner briefly this morning. He was understanding that there was going to be a change in counsel. We haven't had any in-depth conversations. I have not.
The media asked, how did he seem? We had a chance to discuss it. He would have a new attorney. He understood what I was saying. Fine.
We'll discuss that.
Now they're asking this attorney, hey, Alan Jackson said this. She's like, I don't even have the discovery yet. I don't know what the fuck Alan Jackson just said.
With Mr. Reiner and see how to proceed.
I'll speak with Mr. Reiner and see how to proceed. Mm-hmm.
In-depth conversations. I have not.
His former attorney says he's not guilty.
We'll discuss that with Mr. Reiner and see how to proceed. Not at all.
I wonder how many other cases this attorney has on calendar today. Because I am seeing can we be done here now? I have to get upstairs because I have judges in other departments that need me. Are we done? Okay, thanks. I can't tell you anything. I have no discovery. I was appointed 17 seconds ago and there's not much more I can say. I need to get back to my other cases upstairs. And the elevators are slow. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye.
It's not uncommon for private counsel to turn over cases to us, so no, nothing about that would complicate the situation.
It happens all the time. And I'll tell you what, there are a ton of, this happens to the public defenders. I don't know if it happens as much in other jurisdictions. This happened in LA all the time, where private counsel would come in and take the case through prelim, which means they would get a retainer through prelim. And if they could resolve the case, they keep the entire retainer, right? So if the case pleads, disappears, whatever. But then they would dump the case after prelim onto the public defender, and the public defender would have to pick up the case after preliminary hearing and be like, great. So you will see in arraignments private counsel coming in and say, you know, I'm seeking appointment through preliminary hearing because that's what they had been paid through, and they try to resolve the case prior to preliminary hearing. So it is incredibly common that the public defender's office is just sweeping up other people's cases because it happens all the time. All the time.
Not at all.
I can't hear that question at all.
It's not uncommon for private counsel to turn over cases to us, so no, nothing about that would complicate the situation.
It's not complicating at all.
I have talked to him for only.
It's actually better for the public defender's office, I would think, to get this case early on instead of getting it dumped on them after preliminary hearing. The motorcycles are helpful, or whatever that was. I can't identify what kind of loud car motorcycle thing that was, but damn, that was loud.
I have talked to him for only 30 seconds, so I have no idea. I only spoke to Mr. Reiner for about 30 seconds this morning. I have no comment about his mental state. I have not.
She said, I have no comment about his mental state.
We've had no contact with the family. I don't think they were aware that this was going on.
It is not uncommon that there's no contact with the victim's family. It's harder when the victim's family and the defendant's family are the same family, but that's not surprising.
At this point in time, Ms. Green will look into the case. She'll speak with Mr. Reiner. And if
Ms.
you have
Green
any
would like to
further
get back to
questions,
work.
reach
Thanks,
out to our
everybody.
media team once we have more information ourselves. This just happened today, and my understanding is he was aware of it. Ms. Green spoke with him, as you heard, and as soon as we have more information that we can share, we will share it.
The phone number for media relations is 213. You can reach out to them. And yes, the LA Public Defender's Office and the LA District Attorney's Office both have public relations individuals, if not teams. And that's who will be keeping the media in the loop.
Thank you. No further questions at this time. Thank you. You can direct any further questions to our media.
Reach out to media relations. Thank you.
Green with an E.
Green with an E. Thanks, Miss Green. I like you. All right. And this is District Attorney Hockman. His office is, right across the street as well. So all of these attorneys probably have offices right across the street. I mean, except for Alan Jackson. So we will see what DA Hockman has to say. And then a lot of you have questions. Don't worry, we're going to get to questions.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Hockman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. With me is Habib Balian. He is the Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes. He will be prosecuting this case. I'm here to...
I wonder if... I think Balian was in Major Crimes when Jackson was in Major Crimes, but I'm not sure. I would actually have to ask. I don't remember. But Alan Jackson had been the head deputy of Major Crimes. Balian is the assistant head of Major Crimes. So just an interesting point of what's going on in Los Angeles.
Make 3 points, and then I will not be taking questions afterwards. In our criminal justice system, every defendant...
Sir, if you were going to repeat the beginning to Law and Order, I was going to lose my mind. In the criminal justice system. That would have actually been funny. I wouldn't have been mad. I wouldn't have been mad about that.
He will be prosecuting this case. I'm here to make 3 points, and then I will not be taking questions afterwards.
Good to know.
In our criminal justice system, every defendant is entitled to a lawyer
Right.
who will zealously represent their interests and do so effectively. So too is Nick Reiner, whether it's Alan Jackson, someone from the public defender's office, or any lawyer. He's entitled to that lawyer, and we'll make sure he gets that lawyer. Second point, in the process of dealing with that lawyer, we will make sure, the DA's office will make sure, that lawyer is provided with full discovery
Of course.
all the facts that pertain to this particular
It's not
situation.
Norfolk.
Whether it's interviews, whether it's any type of video, whether it's any type of expert reports, we'll make sure that that lawyer gets the facts necessary to effectively represent their client in a court of law. And third point, we are fully confident that a jury will convict Nick Reiner beyond a reasonable doubt of the brutal murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner, and do so unanimously.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, sir. All right. And that's the word from the DA. Quincy Doodle said this guy Hockman shows up to get 15 minutes, let the actual prosecutor for the case speak. The flip side of that is, nope. This is the elected DA. Sir, you can go talk to the press. Leave me the fuck out of it. The majority of attorneys I know would much rather have someone else speak to the press than themselves. They don't want to do it. They don't want to talk to the press, contact media relation. But this is the elected district attorney of Los Angeles. Go talk to the media, sir. That's your job. Just you do it. I don't want to do it. I don't think you're going to see any of the attorneys in the office saying, I wish it was me that was out there giving statements to the media. Nope. And it also gives a little distance between the attorney that's going to be in court and the press, and making sure that there is no potential impact on the jury pool. I think the only reason Hockman made that statement is because Jackson's statement was made. I'm sure Hockman knew exactly what Jackson said, and Hockman's going to respond to what Jackson said. Jackson said, under the laws of California, I will tell you, Nick Reiner is not guilty. Print that! Print that! Print that! And Hockman's going to come in and say, we are confident in our case. We would not have filed this case if we did not believe we could prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I will say, when there is a defense of NGI, that it's not information that the district attorney's office is going to have at the time that they file the case. Those are things that are developed later in the case. And then we will see. There is a very, very, very long way to go in this case. But I don't imagine an elected DA standing up there after Alan Jackson has his say of him not saying we're confident in our case. I'm not surprised. So it just is what it is. All right. Let's see. I don't think there is anything else from this press conference. The reporter said, do you still plan on seeking the death penalty, sir? They aren't even at the point in the case where they would have had a meeting with their committee. This is a special circumstances murder case, which means that it is eligible for the death penalty. Whether they choose to pursue that or not is a decision made by committee down the road. There are conversations that will happen with the defense attorneys. There are reports that they will want. There is information they will want. Input for the family is something they're going to want. And so that's a decision that's going to be made well down the road. Well down the road. So, Grass folks said, won't the death penalty change the defense lawyer? No, it won't. The defense lawyer who's appointed on the case is appointed for the special circumstance case. This is a large jurisdiction, and there are many defense attorneys that deal with special circumstances murder case within Los Angeles. So, yeah, there are many of them. All right, let us continue on. There is, I'm going to see if the media yells anything else at Attorney Hockman, and then we're going to go back and look at exactly what Jackson said to answer some questions about withdraw from the case. All right. That is it. Thank you, Miguelina, for working on the sound on that video. We're going to go back and look at some of the things Jackson said to answer some of your questions. One of the things, here, let me pause that. As Smart said, would private attorneys step aside if they think the case may not go to trial? No, they get paid more if it doesn't go to trial, truly. So no, not going to trial is a huge benefit. Not going to trial saves everybody a lot of time and you still make quite a bit of money. So no, not going to trial for private counsel is a win. Going to trial takes a lot of time and resources for any attorney. At the public defender's office, that's just covered by the county. At a private attorney's office, that means it is a like opportunity cost. If you're in trial on one case, you're not bringing in new cases, working on other cases, in trial on other cases. So there is an opportunity cost to it. So no. Let's do a quick summary of what we saw today. Then we're going to go back and look at some of the specific words that Alan Jackson used, because there are things that he very clearly did not say and things that he very clearly did say. So, in court on January 7th, 2026, Alan Jackson appeared for his client, Nick Reiner, and talked about 10 subpoenas that the defense had sent out. A few attorneys were in court responding to those subpoenas. On the other subpoenas, body attachments were issued by the court and held, which means the court maintains jurisdiction over those subpoenas. It seems that those subpoenas were for the court date of January 7th, were served to the individuals who were being subpoenaed to court so that the defense has the ability to meet with them, interview them, get documents from them, get any evidence that they think they might have at the beginning of the defense investigative process. The defense isn't or wasn't just waiting for the, sheriff's department and police department to turn over information to them. They were proactively going out with defense investigators. I mean, Alan Jackson's not like knocking on your door and being like, you've been served. But the defense investigators were going out and subpoenaing individuals. I imagine that those would be individuals or documents from things that were happening very close in time to the homicide or the homicides that have been charged here. So issuing and holding the body attachments means that the court maintains jurisdiction of those subpoenas until the next court date. There were a few attorneys in court that said, hey, we've appeared, we're in communication with the defense. You don't need to issue a body attachment. The defense, Alan Jackson, also said that they want all of that to stay under seal. So who was subpoenaed? Who were those attachments issued for? Who are their lawyers? All of that is going to be sealed. So we are not going to know at this time. Will we be able to figure it out later? Sure. We'll be able to figure it out later. Does it matter at this point? Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But that's what holding the body attachment means. It lets the subpoena live until the next court date. And then if people don't respond at the next court date, the public defender who has now been assigned to the case, Ms. Green, has the ability to make a decision about what they want to do with those subpoenas. But it puts the public defender coming in to the case in the best position to decide what to do with those subpoenas in February. So those essentially roll over to February. The next arraignment date is February 23rd. Alan Jackson told the court he was withdrawing from the case, and then the public defender's office was appointed. At a press conference after the arraignment hearing was completed, the public defender's office said they were given notice the evening before that Alan Jackson would be substituting out. So the public defender's office had the attorney that was going to be assigned to this case in court and ready to take over the case, and she did by putting over the arraignment. Is it unusual that they put over the arraignment when a new attorney got the case? No. Is it better for the case and for the public defender's office that this happened early on in the proceedings? Yes, it absolutely is. Is it unusual that private counsel comes in on a case and then is no longer on the case? Yes, 100%. It is something that happens all the time. So what comes next in this case? Well, there's going to be an arraignment in February, though at that hearing, other procedural things can happen. So the arraignment could get put over again. What does that do practically? It just bumps the case out a little bit more, but with bumping the case out a little bit more, this is a double homicide that's been charged as a special circumstance murder. It's not going to go quickly no matter what. So does it change things for the normal procedure of this case? No, it is incredibly common. So it's going to take time. The court date that I'm going to be keeping an eye on most is when they set a date for preliminary hearing. It will be interesting to see how far out that gets set. What else do we know? Well, the public defender's office said you can talk to our media relations. So I imagine we're not going to see much statements or any statements from the public defender's office going forward. They don't even have the discovery on this case yet. Alan Jackson said that the discovery was under protective order from the district attorney's office and wanted to make sure that the protective order allowed him to turn it over to the public defender's office. But it's not like he brought a file into court and handed it to the public defender. I wouldn't be surprised if someone from his office set up a meeting with the public defender and said, hey, this is the conversations we've had, and here's all the information that we have for you. And that gets done in a week or so. That's not going to be immediate. It's not going to have happened yesterday. So the public defender's office will then begin their own evaluation of the case with the information turned over from Alan Jackson. But what's interesting is what Alan Jackson said in court about withdrawing from the case and saying that there was no, this was something that was required. It was out of his control. It was out of Nick's control. He did not say that there was a conflict on this case. Could he have said that? Yes. Did he say that? No. Did he say it was out of Nick's control? Yes, he did. Did he say it was out of his control? Yes, he did. So we can talk about what that might mean, but we're going to go back and look more carefully at some of the things Alan Jackson said specifically and what information we can glean from that. But I am sure that many attorneys are kind of on the same page as to what all that means because it seems pretty clear and it might seem pretty clear to you. So let's take a look at exactly what Alan Jackson said when he was withdrawing from this case and the particularity of the words he used before he gave a press conference saying that under the laws of the state of California, he believes that Nick Reiner is not guilty, which indicates to me again that Alan Jackson was viewing this case through the lens of whether there would be a not guilty by reason of insanity plea or an NGI plea, which then almost bifurcates the trial where you end up with a guilt phase of the trial to determine if the person charged did the things, and then you end up with a separate part of the trial to determine if that person is not guilty because, and then the jury evaluates that. We saw that in the Taylor Shabusiness case. The first part of the trial was, did the jury find Taylor Shabusiness guilty of murder? The second part of the case was, did they find her not essentially criminally responsible for that murder because of mental disease or defect? And we watched that case. Was it 2 years ago now when we watched that phase of the trial? So there are other cases we have seen that come in. Most recently, I think, was Taylor Shabusiness. But we can also see cases, and I talked about this in the podcast episode where I covered the last court date in the Reiner case. You can see cases where somebody pleads guilty to the crimes and then goes through a trial just on the NGI portion. And we have seen that in other cases that as well. And you can let the jury decide that part. So even if somebody pleads not guilty by reason of insanity, they are saying that they did the thing, but they're not responsible for the thing. So then the guilt would be determined, but I'm not responsible for it, even though I'm saying that I did it because, and then that would come in. So there are a lot of different avenues that can go, but it's way too early in the proceeding for any of that at this point. So are we ready to take a look more at what Alan Jackson had to say in court? I think so, because there's lots of questions. Let's see what Jackson had to say.
Until the next court hearing date.
Hey.
And how else would you like to proceed?
Your Honor, at this time, I, on behalf of Workman Jackson and Quinn, and with Mr. Reiner's understanding and consent, would ask to withdraw as counsel of record based on the conversation that we've had in chambers and the explanation we've provided to the court in chambers. We feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved. The public.
We feel we have no choice. As I explained in chambers, so Alan Jackson was in chambers with the court explaining to the judge, hey, this is what is going on. So the judge will know, hey, this is what's going on. And he said, look, my client understands and consents. We have no choice but to withdraw. If there was a conflict, then he would have said, as we discussed, there's a conflict in this case. I do not think there was a conflict. I have seen many questions like, oh, Jackson might represent, I don't know, Conan O'Brien or whoever. That's not what the issue here. I don't think Harvey Weinstein is going to be a witness in this case. I only say that because it's one of his more recent past clients. So no, I don't think there is a conflict in this case based on the fact that A, he didn't say it, and what he did say.
In chambers, and the explanation we've provided to the court in chambers, we feel that we have no choice at this juncture but to withdraw as counsel and ask to be relieved. The public defender's office has been notified. We've had conversations with them. They are here. They're staffed. They're ready to take over. My understanding is they're ready for the appointment immediately, forthwith.
And then the public defender's office was appointed forthwith. Let's go to the press conference and see again exactly what words he used about this was
Clear.
Out of his control and out of his client's control. Because, well, out of his control and out of his client's control.
Excuse us. Yeah, right here. Good morning.
Media scrum.
As you know, my name is Alan Jackson.
As you know. My name is, yes, they're aware, not the country singer. Though every now and then people in the chat still come by and are like, wait, what?
This morning, I had to withdraw as Nick Reiner's counsel. Circumstances beyond our control, but more importantly, circumstances beyond Nick's control have dictated.
Right. Beyond our control, beyond Nick's control.
That sadly, it's made it impossible for us to continue our representation of Nick.
What would make it impossible for a firm to take on a double homicide other than not meeting the significant retainer that would be required for a case that is going to go to trial? That is the most probable, the most likely, and the most reasonable. Private counsels get paid. Private counsels get paid a lot. This is going to be an expensive case to take to trial. Remember, when you are private counsel, and we saw a lot of conversation about this in the Karen Reed case. If you are looking at a NGI case, you are looking at a case that is heavy with experts. And when you are looking at a case that is heavy with experts, you are looking at paying for all of those experts. If it's the public defender's office, then it's covered. If it's private counsel, you are paying for the for the experts, for the investigators, for the attorneys, for the trial support. And if you are looking at a special circ double homicide trial with an NGI with private attorneys, you are looking at millions of dollars for trial. Not $1 million. You are looking at millions of dollars for trial. So if the defendant does not have access to that type of money, it is appropriate for the defense to say, we cannot take this case. This is beyond their control. This is beyond our control. But their firm can't float a couple $1 million. Where are they going to? Okay, you can't just do that work also. It's not just that they're doing all that work, it's taking the attorneys out of other cases. So I would imagine that they could not reach an agreement and possibility of getting paid. Also, as a lot of you have asked, and I don't think I'm going to be able to pull up every single comment and every single question, because there are tons of them. Would Nick Reiner inherit from his parents? No, not at this point. IPI 18 says, can you review the Slayer statute in California, as it's colloquially called? I've seen a lot of conversation about it. Of course, because when the estate of the Reiners gets probated through court, if it seems that someone who may inherit could be responsible, then they will not have access to that funds until it is thoroughly probated. And if there is a criminal trial, which there is a criminal proceeding, that probate won't even happen until either after trial, or the probate court can say it's more likely than not, based on the charges, you're not getting anything. You can fight with us later if you're acquitted. But even then, the standards are different. So when you look at the civil OJ case versus the criminal OJ case, found liable in civil court, found not guilty in criminal court. And then when you start looking at probate, you're looking at a standard that is fairly low. So probate is going to tie up the entire estate of the Reiners, even if Nick would have inherited. That's not going to happen until all the criminal stuff is done. So that ties him up. That might also tie up the other family members as well. It might. The time that probate is going to take, because one of the children has been accused of the murder of both of the parents, is going to be complex. And it might tie it up for the other children as well. This is not my area of expertise. This is an overview of no, that money is not going to be easily accessible. And no, even if there was a will in this case, even if there was a living trust, even if there was a pour over trust, even if the Reiners had done everything they could to financially plan for their passing, if one of the beneficiaries has been charged with their murder, probate is going to have to be involved. Even if they did everything they thought that they could to keep probate out of it, this is going to have to go through courts. So a lot of you are saying, but if they had an estate plan, there shouldn't be probate. However, if Nick was in that estate plan, it will have to go through the courts, because if one of the beneficiaries is charged, it's going to have to be handled through the courts, because he is not entitled to that money under the statutes in California. It is going to be complex. I don't know how the attorneys that deal with the will are going to deal with that, but they are going to have to deal with it, because if the will divides things up between all of the kids, you have legal problems. So the probate stuff in the Corey Richins case is going to take quite a while. Same thing that we're seeing in the Corey Richins case. So probating this is going to take some time, and that money is not going to be accessible. If that's what the thought was, I don't know if it is or isn't, but it makes the most sense here. So we won't know. This is a fantastic question, paratroopers. Even if he's found NGI, would he get the inheritance? I don't know. There would have to be a lot of legal research on my end to answer that question. I don't know. It's not a question I have ever dealt with, and I am not going to answer that because it's a very nuanced question and the standards are different. Because remember, in an NGI, you are saying, I did it, but I'm not criminally responsible. But that's not the standard that probate is looking at. Probate is not looking at, I'm not criminally responsible. Probate is looking at, did you do this? Did you cause it? So it, I think, would be a nuanced on liability. So they are going to have to deal with some pretty complex probate issues here, even if they had done estate planning to try to avoid probate. So I don't know how the attorneys are going to navigate that. It's going to be complex. I will do my best to take a look at it because it is a really interesting question about the probate and give you guys a more researched answer on the podcast. I'm very interested in that question as well. So I will see what I can answer, but the standards are very different. And again, an NGI plea means that you're admitting that you did the thing. You're just saying you're not criminally responsible for the thing. So if you're admitting that you did the thing, it might bounce out the availability of probate. So let's continue on. Some of you are asking, what if he had a trust from his grandfather? It would really depend, without knowing nearly enough circumstances to answer things that are deeply complexly legal. It would depend on if that trust from the grandfather was commingled with the estate planning or not, or separate. It would really, really just depend on whether or not they were all put into one trust or not. And we don't know the structure of that. We just don't know. And we don't know if that trust was managed by his parents. We don't know. So there could be a lot of circumstances where that is not an easy answer and a very complex answer. So it unfortunately is a possibly, but if his parents were the beneficiaries of that, or if his parents were the executors of that, all of it can cause problems. Also, there is a very real possibility that any trust that may or may not exist, and I don't know if it does, but any trust that may or may not exist for this hypothetical, we're going with yes, a trust exists. If that trust pays out a monthly stipend, that's not something that can be tapped for a retainer on a case like this. On a very small case, retainers can be from $10,000 to $50,000. I mean, maybe there are some misdemeanors where some attorneys do like a $3,000 to $5,000 retainer. So if there is a monthly stipend, you still can't access the underlying funds for the type of retainer that I imagine Jackson's firm requires, which is going to be, I imagine, more in the hundreds of thousands than in the tens of thousands, because those retainers are worked against. So it would not surprise me if there were trust funds that those were monthly distributions or quarterly distributions, and that there's no legal means to access a lump fund to pay the type of retainer that would need to be paid. So, Danielle said, someone said it's a 6 to 7 figure retainer. That wouldn't surprise me at all. It would not surprise me at all. If it was a $1 million plus retainer, I would not be shocked by that. But trying to access that could be very challenging. Wait, did I get trolled? No, I didn't. It is a 6 to 7 figure retainer makes sense, but also 6-7. Wasn't there a fight over Murdaugh's trust fund? There was a lot of fights in Murdaugh. There were. Amanda said, could it be that Jackson was the attorney on retainer for the Reiner family? I don't think so, because he is a criminal attorney. There would have been no reason for him to be on retainer. That's generally not how their firm works. And Jackson said, Here, let's continue with the press conference. He says, I got a call in New York and we dropped everything to take this on. And if he had been on retainer with them already, some of these issues might not be coming up. But if he also had been on retainer for them, there might have already been a conflict where he wouldn't have been able to take this in advance. So I don't think that's the case. That's generally not how his firm works. And they're not just the type of firm that's like the Lisa Barlow lawyers, like, let me call up my 7 attorneys. That's not the way that their firm is set up and not the way that they work. So let's continue.
I'm legally and I'm ethically prohibited from explaining all the reasons why. I know that's a question on everybody's mind. We expect the public defender to step in. They've already been appointed and very capably protect Nick Reiner's interests as he moves forward through the system. But be clear, be very, very clear about this. My team and I remain deeply, deeply committed to Nick Reiner and to his best interests. In fact, we know, we're not just convinced, we know that the legal process will reveal the true facts of the circumstances surrounding this case, Nick's case. You know, a lot's been printed of late, over the last 3 weeks. A lot has been printed about Nick, printed about his...
I want to hear about you getting the call for this case. All right, I want to hear you talk about the call you got. All right.
In the early morning hours, I was...
All right, there we are.
On December 15th, in the early morning hours, I was in New York at the time, and I got a call. Me and my team, we dropped everything. And for the last 3 weeks, we've devoted literally every waking hour to protecting Nick and his interests.
We don't know who called Alan Jackson. We don't know if Nick Reiner's the one that called, that someone who is family. We don't know who called. We don't know who called, and we don't know how that works. But with the swiftness it happened, it might have been that their firm started working on the case before they had the chance to figure out a retainer agreement, because there's no way they would have been able to figure out that retainer agreement that quickly. And at this point, if that can't be figured out, it is not uncommon for a defense attorney to then remove themselves. A lot of you are asking about the individuals standing behind Jackson. I have no idea who anybody is except for Mr. Wolk, who we saw in the Karen Reed case. I don't know. And so I'm not going to speculate. A lot of you have been asking about facial expressions. I will just say that in my time as an attorney, I have shown up to work and received phone calls on the way into work about people passing away. There was a day I was driving into work in trial when my husband got into a car accident on his way to work and had to go and be treated for that. There was a day that I got called on the way to work that Travis had like slipped in class and like split open his chin on a desk. And I had to go to work and handle work because I was the attorney on the case before I could get out of work and go do other things. So I generally don't ever anticipate what people are going through, because I have no idea what people's life is like before they stand on that podium, because it could have absolutely nothing to do with any of this. Life is complex and busy. So, you know, when it's Corey Richin sitting in court laughing yesterday, I think that's probably related to the court. I think that's probably related to what's going on in court. But who knows what's going on for everybody. And when you're an attorney, you often don't have the option to opt out. You don't get to say, I can't come into court. I can't show up. You have to show up and then handle everything next. And that is not always easy. So holding it in a day when your brain might be elsewhere is part of the job, but it is, I think, why attorneys have so much burnout and fatigue, because it's real hard when you need to be able to drop everything when you actually can't drop everything and go handle it. It's hard. And I think that leads to quite a lot of attorney stress and burnout. So that's what I have to say about that. A lot of you have asked, but you can't. There are some days you just have to show up and do the thing and be like, okay, are we done? Can we go? Are we done? Can we go? But I have seen a lot of questions about why would Alan Jackson, take this case because defense attorney. Why would Alan Jackson withdraw from this case? Probably because they couldn't reach a retainer agreement. That is the most probable, likely, and the timing tracks. They put over the arraignment. I imagine at the initial arraignment, they didn't have a retainer agreement in place, put over the arraignment to investigate the beginning of the case, and then know what the case is going to look like. A trial versus an NGI trial are not the same. The retainer agreement's not going to be the same. A lot of criminal defense attorneys want to be paid up front. I have seen criminal defense attorneys in LA take out or have their clients take out mortgages on their house, sign their houses over to them. Literally, here's my house. Look, I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think Nick Reiner owns any property. I don't think that with the complexities of both of his parents passing away in quick succession to this date and how close it is, that you're going to have time to navigate the complex financial ramifications here. And Nick Reiner has qualified for the public defender's office. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the funds that had been supporting him are not his or in his name or accessible to him. It is the most reasonable probability. And Alan Jackson said, this is outside of my control and this is outside of my client's control. He did not say it was a conflict. If he did, he would. Like if there was a conflict, he would. It is the literally follow the money. It is the simplest and the most probable explanation, especially given the timing. If they couldn't figure it out between the first arraignment date at the end of December and now, it's not going to be figure outable. And it is in Reiner's best interest that he is with the attorneys that are going to go through trial with him at the closest point in time. Does that make sense? So that's what the attorneys had to say in court. The family also put out a brief statement. Let's take a look at that, and we're going to get to some more questions and go from there. So, does that make sense, chat? Are we all, yes? Yes? Okay. Will we ever know who made that initial call to Alan Jackson? I don't know, unless that person talks about it. Everything's going to be speculative. So, I'm not going from there. Amy said he can always retain another lawyer and switch from the public defender. If the money is there, yes. But that would be difficult. Alicia, could it be that Nick lied to him about the facts of the case? That wouldn't normally cause a defense attorney to withdraw this fast in time. And based on statements from Jackson, he said early on he hadn't even had time to talk to his client about the facts of the case. They might not have even gotten there yet. So, no. And even if that was untrue, most defense attorneys would see that as this is my client's perception of the case, and they wouldn't be in a position to determine if it was untrue or not. It wouldn't be shocking early stages of a case for a client to say, I don't know what happened. Also, with defense attorneys, their clients lying to them is not an unexpected thing that happens. They will often say, you need to tell me the truth, but understand that the first couple times a defendant, especially one who's never been in contact with the criminal justice system in any significant way, might not even have wrapped their head around how to have that conversation. Now, a client lying to a defense attorney is not going to cause them to yeet from a case. Remember, even in the Corey Richins case, we saw the walk the dog letter where she was trying to get her attorney to smuggle her Crest White strips. Was on jail calls calling her a bitch, and then laid out the entire defense strategy in a letter that was taken by the sheriffs from her jail cell and the prosecutors had. And even then, Skye didn't withdraw from the case. It wasn't until a conflict arose that she withdrew from the case. And the conflict was because there was so much going on. Now, at that point in time, I'm like, dude, I would be out of here so fucking fast. Are you kidding me? The entire defense strategy is in this letter, and you're trying to get me to smuggle Crest White strips, and you're turning around on jail calls calling me a bitch. But no, Skye was like, I still got you until a conflict arose. So no, I think that defense attorneys have to understand that speaking to their clients about the case is an iterative process. It is going to continue to grow, and they are very early on. They are very early on in the process here. So no, I don't think that. Little Queen in the chat said, I was trying to grab it. Yeah, I would have walked. Yeah, I would have. And Skye's like, no, this is my job. But I am not a defense attorney. I do not have that level of patience. I don't. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I don't have the, the check will clear either way kind of at it. That doesn't work for me. It wouldn't work for me well. I don't think I could. I just couldn't hang. Right? All right. Let's see what the family has to say, and then we are going to get to some more questions. Lindsay said, but Emily, she was writing a really long fiction novel that was 67 pages long. 6'7". All right. My 13-year-old has infected my brain with the 6'7". And now I've said it so much at him, he's sick of it, which seems to be the only way to cleanse yourself of the 6'7". Though it is happening at the high school as well, because Travis is preparing for winter guard season, and 5, 6, 7 to get into whatever counts they are working on seems to have become fraught. So for all of you that have to count for dance or for band or for whatever, I'm sorry, because it's going to take a while before that goes away. It's just going to take a while. In-N-Out Burger band orders numbered 6, 7. I know. It's just going to take time. What's up with 6, 7? I don't know. The 13-year-olds decided it was a meme, and it has infected everyone. It came from a song. Half of them don't know the song. Everybody started saying it, and now it's being said. Look, here's the only thing I can tell you about my experience with memes, especially with like the tweens. The more the adults say it, the cringier it becomes. So if the adults just start saying it back to them, they'll stop. And then they'll be on to something else. Just say it to your kids and they'll be like, ew, it's something my mom says. That's the only way to fix it. Truly. All right. The family released a statement. We're going to go to people for that. Oh, God, people, you're distracting me. Emily, why are you distracted? Because Traitors premieres tonight, people. Traitors. All I want to do is sit and watch Traitors. God, I love Traitors so much. I love it so much. The new season premieres tonight. I am so ready for it. Are you ready for it? Yes. Emily, what's Traitors? Don't worry. We'll talk all about it when we get to Q&A. Let's finish talking about this case. Let's take down our court so that we can see. Like, I can't even get to the headlines because I'm so freaking excited about Traitors. It's just going to be hard to get to this headline because I would have to redo all of my stuff, and I don't want to make you wait. So the headline: Rob Reiner's family says they have utmost trust in the legal process after Nick's attorney withdraws from murder case. Let's get to the bulk of this article away from the headlines. Danielle in the chat said, EDB, I started watching Bon Appetit, Your Majesty, and I'm hooked. Isn't it delightful? It's just delightful. It's just delightful. So many of you were like, I didn't know it was tonight. Look, I love Traitors. I love Traitors. Blue-Eyed Girl said, is Traitors your guilty pleasure, Emily? I don't believe in guilty pleasure. I don't. I feel no guilt. I love it the most. It is so great. I love it. No guilty pleasure. I love it. I don't feel bad about watching it. I think it's delightful. It's just, I adore it. I adore it. The only thing that stresses me out about Traitors is like, if you were going to be on Traitors, like I imagine you just have to hire a stylist, right? To help you plan your outfits, because the outfits are so great. So great. But yes, it's a show I very much enjoy. It's a show I very much enjoy. Who do you want as a traitor? Let's talk about Traitors. We'll finish this statement and we'll talk about Traitors a little bit. Some of you are like, is it a show? Yes, it's like a competition reality show, kind of like a game of Among Us. You have to, yeah, it's kind of like a game of Among Us. It's fun. I am looking forward to it. So we'll talk about it a little more in Q&A, but then we're going to just get to hear Alan Cummings say murder over and over and over and over and over again. So good. All right. Rob Reiner and Michelle Singer Reiner's family has issued a new statement regarding the latest criminal proceedings in the Nick Reiner's murder case. After attorney Alan Jackson withdrew from representing Nick, 32, just before he was set to be arraigned on murder charges on Wednesday, January 7th, in connection with the stabbing death of his parents, Rob, 78, and Michelle, 70, a spokesperson for the Reiner family issued a statement that reads, quote, "They have the utmost trust in the legal process and will not comment further on matters related to the legal proceedings." Okay. So, what is going to happen with this case now? It is going to happen in court. It is going to probably move fairly slowly until we get to a preliminary hearing. We are not going to have as much access to the filings because Los Angeles criminal stuff is fairly locked down. That is a no comment comment. That is this is going to be handled in court. We have nothing further to say. They go on to say Nick, who was present in a Los Angeles courtroom on January 7th, where Jackson withdrew from the case, will now be represented by public defender Kimberly Green. Jackson said in court that his legal team had, quote, no choice but to withdraw from the case after he spoke with the judge. Yeah, okay. Fair enough. It goes on to say he waived his right to finish his arraignment on January 7th. Court proceedings will be rescheduled for February 23rd. We have a courtroom sketch artist that has a courtroom sketch of the proceedings. They go on to say that Ricardo Garcia, the Los Angeles County Public Defender, that would be the elected public defender. So the public defender, the elected public defender, as Hockman is the elected district attorney, said in a statement January 7th that his office, or appointed public defender, they might not be elected. They might be appointed from within the office. I would have to double check because I honestly don't remember. There are some quirks there. Either way, it's side tangent. Emily, you've got lots to do with probate stuff. Yes. Yes, I do. The public defender said in a statement that his office recognizes what an unimaginable tragedy this is for the Reiner family and the Los Angeles community. I thought the public defender's statement was quite good. I really do. Rob and Michelle were, and then they go on to the case, which is information that we know. So that is what we know. That is it. All right. Let's see. There was a great question that I wanted to, let's see. I am Jess saying, does California have rules that defense attorneys need to be death penalty certified for death penalty cases? The public defender's office handles that internally. I would imagine for bar panel attorneys, there are qualification steps that would make them death penalty qualified. That would come up in appointed counsel, which is what we saw in the Brian Kohberger case. Ann Taylor was appointed to the case. There were only a few attorneys in the state that had the requisite experience to cover death penalty cases. There are going to be many more attorneys in Los Angeles who have those qualifications. The public defender's office has quite a lot of attorneys. So it's not going to be quite the same way because the public defender's office is appointed and they have attorneys that handle it. So they have their own internal qualifications for that. And yes, California currently has a moratorium on imposing the death penalty, but they still have it as a punishment for a jury to determine in qualifying special circumstance murder cases. I don't remember the list of special circumstances in California off the top of my head. In this case, they've alleged multiple murders, but there are others like pecuniary gain, lying in wait, and things like that. So if those circumstances are alleged with the murder, then the district attorney's office can seek either the death penalty or seek life without parole. So it becomes a difference in trial, the way we saw very much discussed in the Koberger case. We watched all those hearings together over the defense attorneys trying to remove the special circumstances in the case, trying to get the death penalty off the channel, off the channel? What did I see? Oh, I don't know what I saw in the chat. Something channel brain, but trying to get the death penalty special circumstances off the table, trying to get the death penalty off the table in any way they could. And then when that door was not closed, then they closed that door through a plea deal. So there will be a lot of things that happen in this case. This case is not going to move quickly. This case is not going to move quickly. This case is not going to go to trial this year. This case is not going to move quickly. This is going to take time. And there is a lot that is going to be unknown in this case. So it is going to be slow. And we are not going to have much more factual information on this case. We're going to have like unnamed sources, I'm sure, because there will still be headlines about the case, but we won't have much more on that. Let's see. Rachel, I have your question. I'm going to grab it. Do you have any thoughts on when the arraignment will be? They've put it over for February 23rd, but on the 23rd, there are a few things that could happen that could also delay the arraignment. So I don't know if the arraignment will go forward on the 23rd or if other things will be chosen. Let's get to questions on this case because there are still so many of them, and I want to make sure that we thoroughly answer those because there is confusion. And the more headlines there are in a case, the more room there is for information that is not grounded or accurate. I want to make sure that we cover that. Sound good? All right. Let's go to questions. You guys ready? Let's go. Megan A1 in the chat just said, how long can they hold him until he's arraigned? He has waived his right to speedy arraignment. So as long as it takes. Just as long as it takes. He waived the right to speedy arraignment. Why so far away for the arraignment? Over a month from now? Over a month from now in court, time is not very far away first. And second, the public defender's office needs to get the discovery in the case, review the discovery in the case, have a conversation with the district attorney's office, have a conversation with the client, and that is going to take time. So it's actually not too far out, given that this case is going to take probably a few years, unless there is a plea negotiation of some kind. So when you're looking at the scheme of how long this case is going to take, putting the arraignment over till February is not truly that far out from now. So it's just going to take time. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We will probably be in Utah on the 23rd. Yeah, we'll probably be in Utah on the 23rd for the Corey Richins trial because, let's see, hold on, let me grab my docket real quick. Because they begin jury selection, I have the date written down. I don't want to get it wrong because I will get Tuesday and Thursday confused. So once I say it out loud, It's going to get stuck in somebody's brain and they're going to be like, wait, Emily said, I'm like, no, Emily was wrong. Especially when it comes to dates. Look, Emily has booked travel to the wrong city. So I just need to go to the notes on that. Corey Richens, jury selections begins February 11th. The court is anticipating opening statements on what day, chat? Hold on. February 23rd, everybody. February 23rd. The court wants opening statements February 23rd. So yeah, February 23rd, same day. Same day for opening statements. Don't worry. Look, when the Reiner case goes to court, we will cover it on delay or we will cover it on the podcast. And if there's a quick update, I'll just put it in the Lawnerd Lounge and in the Lawnerd app. I'll put it there so we have it. But yeah, the 23rd. And I think if the court allows like an hour or two delay, we'll just cover it in real time. That's the day that we're looking for. Lindsay asked, isn't that the date he was murdered? No, the attempted murder of Eric Richens was February 14th. He died overnight, March 2nd to March 3rd, unless I am conflating that March 3rd to March 4th, but it was right there at the beginning of March. So that. All right, let's get to some questions. Oh, memers, EDB says things wrong all the time. I say things wrong all of the time. All of the time. It is getting them corrected when I misspeak. That is always the goal. Tara said, I teach dance at night and have to count 5, 6, 7, 8 almost every time the kids repeat 6, 7. So now sometimes I just blurt out 6, 7 to mess with them. It's perfect. And yes, it is. Look, they're always going to remember this moment in time when it was such a thing, which is fun. Let's see. Kristen's Parrot asked if AJ's on retainer for the victims. Is that a conflict? If that circumstance existed, he wouldn't have shown up in court as Nick Reiner's attorney at the beginning. So that wouldn't be that would create a problem, but that would not be the circumstance here because he never would have then been on this case. So that hopefully that helps. Gringa said, could it have to do with other clients' needs? It's unlikely, and here's why. This is just me logicking when we don't have a ton of information on this, but here's my logic on that, Gringa. It's a great question. Could it have to do with other clients' needs? If their firm was unable to accept the case, he should not, and I would imagine would not, have appeared saying that he was the attorney on the case for the first appearance. And he would not have spent weeks and weeks and weeks starting to investigate this case as if he was going to be on the attorney in the case. If his firm did not have the bandwidth for this case, that would have happened on that first call. Hey, I hear what's happening. Our firm is unavailable at this time. We're full. That would have happened then. So no, I don't think we would have seen. I don't think it would have progressed the way that it did if that was the circumstance, if that makes sense. Alice in the chat said, I don't understand the 6-7 meme. Oh no, there's no understanding. It just is. This is one of those things that just is. It just exists. It just is. That's all. Amber in the chat, happy birthday to you. Emily, where is your sweater from? I would have to check where this one is from. I think Aerie, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think so, based on the collar. But I did not look. I do not remember. So, that. Let's see. Jen said, I'm team green today too. Also, my purse is olive green. I love it. Proud to rep Trav. My nephew is graduating and I'm definitely feeling the feels. I have so many feels. Senior year is all of the feels. Max Sauce said, I'm flying into Long Beach today. It's a great airport. It really is. Good to see you. Look, I recognize all of the profile pictures, but with the YouTube changing all the handles around, I feel like I had gotten into a good place with everybody's handles, and now I'm just like, what is YouTube doing? But yes, Losi, just fly into Palm Springs and have a vacation. I mean, Palm Springs is lovely, just lovely. Do I plan on covering the released Karen Read sidebars? Yes, at some point. I will tell you when that point is. Not today. Today is not that point. Yes, and it is not on the top of my list of urgent things that I am being asked about. I'm definitely being asked about it, but it is not on the top of the list of urgent. But yes, we will. We'll have time between now and Corey Richens going to trial. We should. Virginia, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Welcome to our new members. That's so Lacey. SEW. I like the play on words. I see what you did there. My hubs keeps asking me if I've seen all the Nick Reiner's news, and I keep telling him I won't believe shit until EDB shows me the facts and evidence. And I think it's fair to look at it and say, where is this information coming from? Who is saying this information? Who benefits from that information? And how do we know that that's true? The difficulty I have with media right now is that so much of media is 17 articles say the same thing, but they all just cite back to like one source. So you'll have a ton of media saying TMZ says X, and then TMZ's like anonymous sources say X. And TMZ is generally in the loop on things, but also it's who they are looped in from, which during the Britney Spears conservatorship case, I had very strong feelings about, and those feelings have lingered. So though I think TMZ is fairly well connected, it is who are they connected to and who is information coming from. But TMZ is very well connected. They spend a lot of time working with and cultivating relationship and sources. And Harvey Levin also has a lot of relationships within the Los Angeles legal system. He's been around a long time. He knows a lot of people. So they are well connected, but it is who are they connected to? And I think it was pretty clear during the Britney Spears conservatorship where they were getting information from, because they were getting information before it even hit the court docket, unstamped. So it was quite a lot, but years and years and years of networking. So while I think TMZ does have sources, I don't necessarily think all of those sources are neutral sources. Those sources have a side or a perspective. And when we only have one source and 17 headlines, it's one source saying a thing. We can't really double check it. And it's hard to double check it, right? When TMZ is like, hey, it was overheard in the courthouse hallway, I'm like, oh, I believe they overheard that for sure. Anonymous sources said this. I'm like, okay, but whose PR person was it? So it really just depends. And then everybody else reports it, and there aren't multiple sources. There's one. And it's really hard when it is a one source, right? So that is where I try to balance what we're covering based on sources. It may prove to be true later. It may not prove to be true later. And so I rather wait. I know it's really frustrating. I rather wait until we have verifiable information. There are things that we know in the Reiner case. There's much that we don't know, but I rather wait to know, because at this point, what we know is that this is a tragic case. It is horrible for the family and the friends and the community to navigate. It has clearly shaken many. Somebody has been arrested for that crime. I mean, the coroner has now sealed everything, so we won't have any more information from the coroner. The prosecution has charged the charges that they have pretty quickly, which means they have more than we know that connects Nick Reiner to this. And that information will start to come forward when we get to a preliminary hearing. We know that there will be a lot of procedural conversations. We know that the defense is going to explore every avenue of defense, from addiction and mental health and any legal defenses that they have, witnesses. They're going to explore all of that. They will present some of that information to the DA's office when the DA's office needs to make a determination of what punishment they are going to pursue to a jury. And all of that is going to take time. And it is very frustrating not knowing more details. However, this isn't a case where the community is in danger. This isn't a case where public safety is at risk. This is a very sad family case. It just happens to be a very high-profile family that many people have a direct or indirect connection to. And it is steeped in celebrity. You know, being at the famed Christmas party of Conan O'Brien the night before this happened in the overnight adds a level of interest to it. I also want to know what people at the party experience saw and heard. We might not know that till trial, but any trial where it looks like the entirety of Conan O'Brien's Christmas party might be on the witness list is going to garner some attention. But we are just going to have to wait. And it's uncomfortable to wait. I get it. We want to know what happened so we can close that loop and move on. If it helps you close the loop, we're not going to know. We're not going to know. We're not going to know for a while. So just back burner. We'll check back in on this. We've got lots of other trials that we need to go through. And if there is a bond or bail hearing, we'll hear more facts about the case then. So we'll see. Rachel, there is a threshold to qualify for the public defender's office. However, I don't think I've ever seen anyone not qualify. And I don't know if that has shifted for the financial qualifications. Like there's a financial form people fill out. It's not something I had to deal with quite a lot because I was not on that side of things. But I also think people can be appointed a public defender. And also, I don't know if they have a process where people can pay the public defender at a reduced rate, like ability to pay. I don't know how that is operating within LA at the time because the ability to pay for an attorney in Los Angeles, depending on the case, can be significant. As we said, going to trial on something that might be an NGI is millions of dollars. I mean, the defense attorneys, there's not nearly as many experts needed in the Corey Richins case. And the Corey Richins defense attorneys, as we talked about yesterday, have been paid at this point, approved for budgeting upwards of $1 million for that case. So we are looking at a multi-million-dollar trial, whether it's the public defender or Alan Jackson. If it's Alan Jackson, then the client also has to pay for all the experts. So that's part of it. Shannon, EDB. Emily, did you give press conferences as the DA? I was not the DA. Running for political office sounds miserable. I was not the DA. I was a DA. And no, media would call me and it would go something like this. Thank you for reaching out. Yes, we were in court today on this case. The next court date is insert date here. And for any further information, you can reach Media Relations. Their phone number is 213, insert number here. Thanks, bye. Did I have any interest in having cases that were high profile in the media? No, not at all. I just wanted to do my work and be left alone. Leave me alone and let me do my cases. Sometimes it's frustrating. It's like, oh, they got that wrong. And it's like, well, I'm not going to tell them. I didn't feel like I could act. I'm not going to tell them. Leave me alone. Let me do my cases. So that happened. Let's see. Linda asked, does the insanity defense mean the defendant can be forced to testify? No. The defendant cannot be forced to testify. They have a Fifth Amendment right no matter what. However, when you are looking at a NGI defense, guilt would have already been established. So while the prosecution can't call the defendant in that NGI defense, they would have already been found guilty. You don't get to the NGI part unless they are found guilty, because the first determination is, did this person do that thing? And then if this person did that thing, then are they not legally responsible for another reason? Like in a self-defense case, you don't really have self-defense unless you did the thing. So when you're looking at self-defense, you generally need to have the defendant testify to explain the self-defense. NGI is not the same because doctors and experts can explain that without the defendant needing to explain. But in a self-defense case, a defendant is saying, yes, I did the thing. However, I am not criminally responsible for the thing because of circumstance. So under the law, I did the thing, but I am not guilty of the thing because the law allows for this defense or that defense. Does that make sense? So in NGI, it's a bit different, but normally those defenses rely heavily on experts. Those experts being doctors. So no, they can't force the defendant to testify, though guilt would have already been established. Okay. Let's see what else. The back end of my questions, Magdalena, I'm going to take a screenshot real quick. Just make a note. The back end of the questions are not populating quite right. So EDB, could it take 6-7 months for any substantive update? We'll see in February how much longer it will take. Forget to add, that is a torpedoes idea for the soundboard. Sorry, rolling along. My brain is not connecting the reference, but print that. We'll see. We should have a chat stream for traders. Would be so fun. I'll think about that. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. So Steven said, not gonna lie, I fangirled after they changed our handles and you said my name and not the handle. Well, yes, because, I know our law nerds. A lot of you have been here for years. Now, if the handles got changed and all of the profile pictures got changed, I would be totally screwed. But because they didn't change the profile pictures, I'm not totally screwed. So but it is frustrating. I understand why YouTube did it, but it's hard. It's hard. I got used to everybody's handles. Let's see. The Wanderer said, we will have time. Then life happens equals no time. That's absolutely fair with law too. And remember, the public defenders have quite a busy caseload as well. And with that, there is a balancing that will just happen, right? So, Jojo said, so not willing to take an NGI case for free. I don't think any firm could take an NGI, trial in LA on a special circ double homicide for free. I don't think they could, because how would you even pay all the experts? Like, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars of experts. I don't know how an attorney ethically could say, I can zealously represent my client when the concern is, but we can't afford that defense. I think it would create quite a lot of problems. But yeah, attorneys should be paid for the work they do, just like the doctors who are going to be experts should be paid for the work that they do. People should be paid for the work that they do. Y'all don't get paid enough for the work that you do. It would be hard. So it would be hard. And they did also have to balance what they were paid in the Karen Reed case, 100%. A lot of resources went into that case. I was really interested in how Alessi's firm navigated that too. And Alessi's firm is much larger than Jackson's firm and has many different branches of the firm. It's kind of like, I don't know. The music industry is a good and bad example because the music industry, but when you look at a record label and you look at the percentage of artists that are really bringing in the substantial amount of the money, it's going to be a much smaller percentage of artists. There will be other artists on the label that the label is investing money into. And I mean, I know this has changed a bit, but the money's being invested into that aren't bringing in as much money. And so those pools of money, kind of float where a given artist might be. And it's not really different with law firms. When you look at a firm like Alessi's, which is a massive international white shoe law firm, they're bringing in money from all different kinds of cases. So they have the ability to say, you know what? We can still pay Alessi because he's getting paid a salary. We can still pay Alessi to go do the work that he does on this case because we've got so much other stuff coming in and so many other clients, and it's going to be fine. Smaller firms do not have the bandwidth for that, especially if they are really primarily focused on just criminal law. It is very work intensive. And also you're not getting massive like settlements and payouts the way firms might get if they are also doing business and mergers and civil and things like that. You're not looking at those windfalls, right? So, let's see. Thank you, Miguelina. Good to know. I appreciate it. We did Gracie Luhu. We interviewed Alessi. It's on the channel. It's on the channel. So, he's DA. Yeah, he's at DA Piper. Let's see. Creekside said, if someone is subpoenaed by state and may need an attorney to ensure rights, can they get a public attorney? Unfortunately, the correct answer is it depends, but the helpful answer is we've been looking at this quite a lot in the Corey Richins case. There are a few witnesses that the court appointed attorneys for. So yes, it can happen depending on the circumstance. Criminal cases different than civil cases. And in the criminal case, we saw the court deny appointing an attorney for Corey Richins' mom as moot, which could be a lot of things. And we saw the court appoint counsel for a few of the witnesses. So yes, it can happen if it is needed. MZ said, I feel we need yesterday's focus on the board. I do feel like I need a timer that just has Judge M saying, focus with me as the alarm. Focus with me for a minute. Yes, Your Honor, I will. I will focus with you for a minute. I will focus with you. I feel like we all need focus with me. I do. We need it. So we will see, but I need it too. One Wildflower 93 said, have you been following the Logan Paul versus CoffeeZilla case? I have it on my docket. There's a lot that's happened since the last time I covered it. My docket of documents to read has gotten extensive. And honestly, I'm the problem. It's me. There are days where I set aside time to read and research after stream, and then I stream for 5 hours plus, and then it doesn't get done because then life stuff and parent stuff has to get done. So when we changed at the beginning of last year to streaming more days a week, the goal was that the streams would not be as extensive in time, so we would get to cover them, and then I would have time to slot in that research. And then what happened is I just ended up going, we got time, let's just handle it today. And those streams ended up being 4 or 5 hours long. And then there wasn't that time. So I have to rein it in a little bit so I can catch up on some of those dockets, because there are a lot of dockets that I want to review and just have simply not had time. So that is helpful. I feel like I may need to change my profile pic now so no one is confused. Jen, that's fair. Just for a little bit, but it's okay. We got it. There were a few other questions that I wanted to answer. Joe Jersey, yes, said try setting up for the 26-27 school year with kids around. Yeah, we're good. 26-27. Because it'll be school year 6-7. That's okay. My kid is graduating in 2026. I love the parody. I graduated in 1996. It makes me so happy. A few of you have asked if I'll cover Alan Jackson's other case in the Pepperdine case. I have not looked at it extensively. I don't know. I would need to look at the timing. We have quite a lot to do. I'm going to have to look at the timing of when we have trials and then life things. It is going to be a very busy between now and August is going to just be busy in my life. So it's also making sure that things don't conflict with life. So Rachel, the Matthew Perry stuff is on my list for the podcast, so we will catch up on it. They're pretty quick updates. Doctor Who, we do still need Ron. We talked about it at the beginning of stream a little bit. The court hasn't made a ruling. So I'm waiting for the court to make a ruling on the hearing. The court hasn't made a ruling on the OSC hearing. So we need an update. We just don't have one. Because we don't have one. Oh my God, I know exactly where Tehachapi is. John said, I graduated from Tehachapi, 97. My son is 2027. Isn't it fun? I love it too. Cheer Kitty, I do not remember this case by defendant name. A number of you have asked about the Aaron Spencer case. Is that the case in Kentucky? Is that the judge case? I do not remember which case that is. But if that is the Kentucky case, I have my eye on it. The sheriff case, that Arkansas, that's what I meant. Wrong way. Wrong route. Isn't there a Kentucky one? Is that's a different one. Aaron Spencer is that the one involving his daughter? Yes, I think so. So yes, the one with his daughter, and the Kentucky is the sheriff. There's two of them. Okay, thank you. I don't have them by name yet. They are both on my radar. I don't know if they are on the docket yet, but it is on my radar. Do we know if those are going to be streamed? They might be cases that I pop into as a juror and don't cover everything that happens before then based on timing. Mickey Steins is the sheriff case. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, chat. So maybe it is hard to cover cases that go to trial when the trial is not as easily accessible to the public. So we will see. Let's see. Potential juror said I was born in 68 and graduated 86. I always love that. No, it's not silly. I love it when the numbers are fun. It makes me happy. Even when, now that I have to I changed cars, but now that I have to go get gas again, I'm still happy when the gas numbers are funny. There was a day it's been a minute since we had like a 5150 gas or I love it when the numbers are just like, oh, delightful. It makes me happy too. So brains. Catherine said, oh my God, Emily, I just realized my daughter and I are 98-28. Right? I like it too. It just makes me happy. It just does. It makes me smile. I love it when the numbers are fun. Doctor Who said, like when I buy something at 69.69. Exactly. Well, now it would be 67.67. So we'll see. Lindsay in the chat said, will Shannon Burgess finally graduate in 67? I mean, maybe 27, but I doubt it. A lot of you are like 68, 86 here too. And it makes all of you happy. Oh, Leonards, you're just my people. I get it. I love it. I love it. All right. Let's answer a few more questions and then we are going to bounce because there is so much I need to do this week and I have meetings today. There is so much I need to do and Dr. B is having car trouble. We have life things to do, but I have lots planned for the podcast this week. If anything else happens in this case, I will keep you posted in the Lawnerd app and on social. I am trying to also post the things I post on Instagram, on TikTok. I am not always very good at that. I am working on it. I'm trying. The days are long, but we have a number of court appearances coming up on the docket for early February. Oh, didn't I just tell you that I had a meeting? Emily, close your calendar before you stream. You've just stressed out the entire chat. That's my calendar, not yours. It's fine. It's my calendar, not yours. But we have quite a few cases that are going to be rolling off the docket, things that are going to be rolling onto the docket. I'm keeping an eye on the Keefe D case in Nevada. It was just in court. We'll see if they finally set a trial date or not. I don't know. But I will be keeping an eye on it because I have been keeping an eye on that. And I am keeping an eye on what will be coming into the case, but I also don't want to start covering a case if I know I'm going to be unavailable for trial. Like if something is going to go to trial the first 2 weeks of August, I'm just unavailable, unfortunately. I just can't. If it's going to be in trial over high school graduation, I'm just not going to be available. So there are going to be some life time constraints that are going to factor in timing wise. But it doesn't mean we can't, like with Cardi B, we covered it later. We can do that too. And we still have some Charlie Adelson stuff to cover. And Donna's got to be filing her appeal here, her brief sometime soon. So we got to be doing that stuff. Tina said, my son left for the Navy 7 days after graduation. My heart was not ready. Yeah, it's too fast. I know. I can't. My face will start to leak. I am very emo. It's just such an interesting time of like, I'm thrilled, I'm happy, I'm proud, I'm sad. So, any update on Sarah Boone? She has a new lawyer for her appeal, but nothing has been filed yet on her appeal. So we are waiting. She wrote another letter to the court and said, can I please be added to the notice list? And they added her to the notice list. And that's it. Did the TikTok trial date happen yet? No, February. I'm keeping a closer eye on that one. I don't think she's showing up for trial, you guys. I don't think the TikTok psychic is going to take herself into a courtroom in Idaho. The question is, what will the court do about it when she doesn't show up? That's the question. Doesn't Sarah Boone always have a new lawyer? Yes. Yes. So same update, Sarah Boone has a new lawyer. Yes. Yes, that's exactly right. So our trial schedule this year is going to revolve some around, well, other people's trials and some around life stuff. And we'll just see how it goes because you can plan on a court date. Tuesday, I planned on us being in court in the Karen Reed case. That got continued till February. Today, I planned on us being in court in Utah, and we got the door slammed in our face. So court is dynamic, streaming is dynamic, and life is dynamic. But we will continue covering the cases you guys want to hear about most, and some of the cases that were already over but are on appeal and we want to know, like Murdaugh, which is happening at the very beginning of February. And I intend to stream the arguments there. I hope that we have video. We might just have audio, but we'll see. There will be either audio or audio video out from the Supreme Court arguments, and we'll be covering the filings leading up to that. But I'm going to wait till we're a little closer in time because other stuff's just been happening and I want to catch up on that. Trust me. I would rather just laugh at Ron and see if the judge is finding him at this point, but we're not there yet. I promised I would talk about Traders real quick. For all of you that have no idea what Traders is, hi, welcome. Depending on where you are, I don't know. It's on Peacock, so I don't know. Does Peacock have a free 30-day trial? If Peacock has a free 30-day trial, I would wait till the end of the season and then binge it. That would be my guess. I will not spoil it for you on this channel. What I will say is I am very excited for the cast. Traders is a reality competition show, kind of like the game of Among Us, where there are traders and the traders in the house are voting out the faithfuls, the non-traders. And then the faithfuls are trying to figure out who the traders are. And the traders are trying to convince them to vote out other faithful. So if you know the game of Among Us, it's basically the game of Among Us. And they're all living in a house together and they're filming in a house together and then they are off to a hotel. But they are all in a house together. They do competitions during the day to win things like immunity. You have a mix of personalities, reality stars, and it's interesting to watch the interaction between like the housewife Bravo Lebs and the people who had been on Survivor. If we have not seen the season 4 cast, my brain was just like, do we watch the trailer? Probably not, because I worry that it would take down the entire stream, not just demonetize it. I'll take the demon hit, but I don't want the stream to get taken down for copyright, so I'll just link it down below because it's on YouTube. But let's see. We're going to take a look at the Traitors season 4 cast together real quick because I'm excited. I like this show. I think Alan Cummings is fantastic. He's just delightful as a host for a show. His character is delightful. He's delightful. There are international Traitors. Some of you have talked about how good Traitors UK is, Traitors Ireland, all of it. So I wanted to take a look and see if they had photos of the cast. Good. Here is our cast. So Natalie Anderson from The Amazing Race, which is a show that I also love, but could literally never. I would be so bad. Could you imagine under stress? I can't plan travel when I'm not stressed. Can you imagine? Yam Yam from Survivor, Mark Ballas from Dancing with the Stars. How happy do you think they are that they cast Mark Ballas? I'm sure they cast him before the last season of Dancing with the Stars when he got paired up with Whitney. How happy are they that they cast Mark Ballas in this? They've got to be thrilled, right? They've got to be absolutely thrilled about that. Rob, I can never pronounce Rob's other Rob last name, Rob C's last name, from Survivor. Stephen Colletti from Laguna Beach. The fact that Stephen Colletti is back on our televisions in a reality style show is wild to me. Mark's hair is glorious. Terry said, whoa, Mark's hair is long. It's gloriously long. Agree. They pull the greatest. Sierra in the chat said Natalie won Survivor. Great Survivor players once again. They pull the best Survivor players. I love Survivor. Rachel said, wasn't Brittany's ex-husband on last season? Yes, he was. And one of my favorites, Dolores Catania, was on last season. No, Peacock, shush. All right. Candace Dillard Bassett from Real Housewives of Potomac. I don't know how to pronounce. Is it Funchies? Rob Funchies, who I am not as familiar with. Maura from Love Island UK, who I am also not familiar with, but the outfit is fire. Just loving it. That is not the entire cast. Donna Kelsey, everybody. Donna Kelsey, the future mother-in-law of Taylor Swift. Donna Kelsey. I am very interested to see Donna Kelsey on a reality show. I cannot wait. I don't know what that is going to be like. But honestly, I bet Donna's got a sense of humor. If Donna is saying yes to doing Traitors, I imagine that Donna is going to be hilarious. I imagine this is just going to be hilarious. Former banking executive, Travis and Jason Kelsey's mother. Right. I am very interested to see Kristen Kish from Top Chef. Have they had anyone from Top Chef on Traitors US before? I don't think that they have. It would be hilarious if Donna was a traitor. It would be hilarious. Tara Lipinski, Olympic figure skater. She also does some of the commentary, right, for the Winter Olympics, which are going to be coming up. Dorinda is back. What do you guys think? Dorinda was the first one voted off last season and got a second chance. I think that's interesting. I really think that's interesting. A lot of you are saying you don't think that there was a lot in Top Chef. I don't think so. And I think Tara being cast this time right before the Olympics makes a lot of sense since we're going to be rolling into the Winter Olympics and she's going to be doing commentary for the Winter Olympics, right? So it's interesting that Dorinda's back. I'm interested to see. I know she was pissed when she got voted off. Maybe they will make her a traitor or are they going to vote her off again? Tiffany Mitchell from Big Brother, those gloves, the jacket, all fire. Monet Exchange from RuPaul's Drag Race. I love that they have queens from RuPaul's Drag Race. I just think they need more of them per season. Like, they always have multiple Bravo. They always have multiple survivors. I think they need multiple from RuPaul's Drag Race so they can have a coalition. Though I think it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see. I would love to see more. I would love to see more from cast of RuPaul's Drag Race. Eric Nam, who is a singer, which is going to be interesting because he is a beloved Korean music artist, but it's really hard when you are not within the world of some of these other reality shows, because there's almost an automatic alliance with some of the other celebs. I think it's hard when you are out of that realm. So I'm interested to see how this goes. Elisa said, "What the fuck is Eric doing here?" I don't know, dude. I don't know. I would love to see Trixie on the show too. I think they should have more, either that or don't have multiple people from each franchise. Have one person from Housewives or Bravo, one person from Survivor, and they have broken it up. There are less Housewives represented in this cast. So the casts are becoming more diverse by franchises, so they don't end up together. Oh, Doctor Who, nothing's wrong with Eric. It's just kind of I think just kind of random. Like this cast is more diverse across the world of celebrities, not just like reality TV stars. And I think that's going to make it very interesting. Michael Rappaport, I think that's going to be an interesting mix for sure. He is a big fan of reality TV. We know that. Rob Roche from Love Island. They've had a couple Love Island celebs in the past. Lisa Rinna from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills to bring the drama, darling. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how I feel about the hat. I like the outfit. I don't know how I feel about the hat. Caroline Stanberry, who I adore, from Real Housewives of Dubai, which is also going to be interesting. See, look, you've got like a housewife coalition going in, right? Ian Terry from Big Brother, who I'm not familiar with. Colton Underwood from The Bachelor. How do y'all feel about Colton from The Bachelor being on Traitors? What do you guys think? Oh, wait. I didn't realize that Johnny Weir was also on this season. Wait, he and his co-host? Oh. Johnny, y'all are a coalition immediately. I had forgotten he was on it. Oh, the drama. It's going to be so good. Automatic alliance. What if they make one of them a traitor and one of them not? Oh my God. Can you imagine? The two of them together are so funny. Like, y'all, grab a drag queen, be an alliance. You guys will be unbeatable. It's going to be so good. They are besties. They're besties and co-hosts. They have to make one of them a traitor, right? It's going to be very interesting. Oh, the outfits this season are going to serve. The outfits are going to be so good. Portia from Real Housewives of Atlanta. Okay. I take back what I said about not that many housewives. I'd forgotten how many housewives. And the people coming in who have watched the show in the past are going to look at this and be like, we have to break up the housewife alliance. Yeah. Mari H said, the outfit competition between Alan and Johnny, it's going to be so good. It's going to be so good. A number of you have said Colton is this season's Tom Sandoval. Fair. That's fair. That's fair. They need Adam Lambert. God, that would be fun too. I wonder if he would. A lot of you are saying, I just watched for Johnny Weir's outfits. Same. But you've got a pretty solid Housewives alliance going into this. Like that is a lot of Bravo. That is a lot of Bravo. And we'll see. Remember, last year there were some mix-ups on people who weren't announced as part of the cast who showed up as part of the cast, and it was delicious. So we'll see what they have in store for us. But that is a lot of housewives. Yes, they are all from different. Franchises. But how many housewives is that? We've got Portia from Atlanta. We've got Caroline from Dubai. I mean, and Ladies of London, which was a fucking great show that didn't get enough seasons, but whatever. You've got Lisa from Beverly Hills. We've got, let's see, 2 from Big Brother. You've got Dorinda from New York. And then we got one more. No, is that it? Did I miss somebody? I think I missed somebody. So 2 from Love Island, but one's Love Island UK. Oh, Candace from Potomac. You've got 5 housewives in this cast. And like 2 from Survivor, 2 from Big Brother. But you've got 5 housewives on that cast. That's a pretty strong alliance, unless they put one of the housewives and either Johnny Weir or Tara Lipinski as a traitor. Would it be funnier if it was Tara, or would it be funnier if it was Johnny as one of the traitors? But I think you have to have a housewife as a traitor. I think you have to. And I think you probably have to break up Team Weir Lipinski as well. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Justice for the South, the SLC cast. I don't know if this was filming at the same time that Salt Lake was filming. Traitors might have filmed, this season of Traitors might have filmed at the same time. There will definitely be a Big Brother Survivor Alliance. I think Johnny would also be too obvious. How many traitors are there? It depends on season. They generally start with 3, but things have changed last season. So. All right. With all of that, John said to EDB, do you know Tehachapi because you sent people there? My husband grew up in Kern. So, Southern California. No, not specifically because I sent people there, but SoCal. And my husband grew up in Kern. I'm very interested to see who Mama Kelsey aligns with. I'm also interested to see who knows who Mama Kelsey is and who has no fucking idea who Mama Kelsey is. I'm very interested to see how Traitors, plays out this season. It is one of the very few shows that I will watch episode to episode as opposed to waiting until the season is over and binge. It is one of the few things I'm like, it's Traitors night, everybody. Mama's watching TV. I'm excited to see how it goes. So all of you, I have to get to a meeting. Law Nerds, I appreciate you. It's good to see you. Glad we got to have this little chat about, television Emily's excited by. It's such a fun dynamic for a show. I enjoy the way it's a fairly short in time dynamic for a show. It is a lot of personalities. It is very interesting to see. You know, if there was anybody from last season that I would want to see back on Traitors, it would be Chanel Ayan. We were robbed of Chanel's outfits because I can only imagine that they were 10 out of 10. And she's funny as fuck. She's really funny. So I think it would be very interesting to see Chanel back on Traitors. I would love to look if they're bringing people back that get voted off early. Why not? Because the outfits are going to be amazing. Music to My Soul said, I would want Boston Rob back. He's so strategic and entertaining. Boston Rob's doing a podcast with Bob the Drag Queen about Traitors. How glorious is that? So Boston Rob's doing podcast commentary about Traitors with Bob the Drag Queen. I'm living for it. I'm a Boston Rob stan too. Absolutely love Boston Rob. When y'all threw me for the loop when you were like, EDB, Boston Rob's from Canton. Do you remember when we went down that rabbit hole? I had no idea. And same, Coco B. Dr. B and I used to get together for date night very early on when we were dating and watch Survivor. That was our date night. Sometimes we would also have time to watch like ER, but I have been a stan of Boston Rob since early Survivor. I'm very, very interested to see how their commentary of Traitors is. I wish that we could just watch Traitors together without getting copyright struck off the fucking internet. If we could sit and stream Traitors and watch it together, dreams. Law Nerds, we would watch TV together. I 100% would watch TV together. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I don't think that's possible. But were it ever to become possible, I would. Can you post the link to their podcast somewhere? I don't even know if they have an episode out. I just saw that it was coming. I saw a post about it on Instagram, I think. I agree. The Boston Rob and Efron bestie friendship was one of the best things from that season. But I also love Dolores Catania, so it was fun to see her that season. Also, there were some Sandoval moments that were very funny. There were some very funny moments. All right. Law Nerds, you're the best. I've got to go. I've got to get to a meeting. I appreciate you. It's good to see you. Members, we will be recording a podcast. I'm not sure exactly when. I will keep you posted, but we will be recording a podcast. And what else? We'll be setting dates when I get to my calendar tomorrow for our members only this month, and I will let you know what I'm thinking. So we will let you know. I know, Chad, I see you. All of you are like, we could do that on Discord. I want to do it on YouTube so we can just have our chat. But I'll be watching it. The podcast is on Peacock. Oh, of course it is. That makes sense. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense because of course it is. It's like an after party because every show now needs a commentary show about it. Law Nerds, you're the best. I will see you soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Law Nerd. I will see you next week. We'll be back. We'll be back with cases. I will see you in the Law Nerd Lounge. If you are new here and you do not have the Law Nerd app, I will see you over in the Law Nerd app. I will keep you posted when I am not streaming about what's going on. LawNerdApp.com. It's free for you, iOS and Android. We built it to keep you in the loop. So if you're like, Emily, I don't want to see what you posted on Instagram, don't worry. I'll tell you about it in the app. It's fine. I completely support all of you being like, YouTube's the only social media that I like. Fair. I can notify you in the app. That's why we built it, to support you being like, I don't need to be anywhere else. Fair. I don't really want to be anywhere else either. I just want to be here with y'all. But I have to go to a meeting. So I will see you soon. Law Nerds, you're the best. All right. Have a good rest of your day. Bye. Thank you for joining me. Make sure you don't miss a live stream or any of the updates on the cases that you care about most with the Law Nerd app at LawNerdApp.com. It's a free download on iOS and Android so I can keep you in the loop because you never know when something's going to pop off. Thanks for being here and thanks for being a Law Nerd.